Item 1, let me go to the hall and let them know they're up. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ned.
Not charged. He was asleep. Was I asleep?
We also have Monica Bernard and Joe Crane. Did I say the names? I hope I did. Okay, perfect.
Can we sit here?
Please come and join. Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, and we have Jill Stanton with Bremerton Housing Authority. You guys are at the end of the, you guys are our special guests at the end of the table. Yes.
And there's another chair right there behind you, Monica. There's 4.
Okay.
I'll sit next to Anna here.
Right.
No, you good.
Hello. And Tony, you probably won't need our goals and priorities. That's the papers that are there. Those are just for us for later. You're welcome to peruse them, but although you can see at the very
distraction.
They might be a distraction. We do have housing equity on there. We do have support of y'all on there. But you're here to present on an update of affordable housing projects, including the shelter, including other projects in Bremerton. And we're glad you're here to update us. So
Who's gonna start?
okay, yeah, you got then we've got a 10 to 12 minutes for your presentation. Then we have some time blocked out for us to do a Q&A.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome. So before we get to the shelter, I'll just update you on Evergreen Bright Start, the young adult project that we're doing. So we had inspections today. They went well. So we're expecting to close on that project within the next 3 weeks is what we're hoping. So I know, sorry, Mayor Wheeler, I know we had an original ribbon cutting date that we're going to now push back until like the middle of June, but we're excited because that Mental Health Services is working really hard. In fact, that's why I was late on all the policies to make sure that this project gets off to a good start.
Can you remind us what that is?
So this is the project that is, serving young adults in Kitsap County, 18 to 24-year-olds with a primary focus will be on kids aging out of the foster care system or young adults aging out of the foster care system, but it'll be open to any young adults 18 to 24 that are experiencing housing insecurity, including households that have children. So this is like the first of its kind. It's super exciting. We have a lot of support, a lot of agencies that have partnered with us. It's a fully funded project other than about maybe $400,000 that the Housing Authority is going to put in towards transactional costs, startup costs, and then a $200,000 budget gap in acquisition. So yeah, it's going to happen and it's super exciting. We're really pushing for sometime in June opening. Monica and I have talked about it being a very intentional, slow occupancy so that we get it right because this is going to be difficult. So that's happening. Anybody else want to share on a housing thing? Okay. I know Joe's got a lot going on. So we'll move to the shelter. So we've kind of divided this into 6 categories. The first being site control. Each of us is working on a portion of this. The site control is really what the Housing Authority has been working on. We have a preferred site, which we have had we've secured an architect that is doing the pro bono work for us through renderings. So they've already been in the building, done a lot of preliminary analysis and including analysis of the zoning. And everybody knows the zoning language needed some changing in order for a pallet shelter. So we submitted that request to the city. Got a call from Garrett Jackson yesterday, and I believe that there might be a different way. If there's anything you want to share on that might come to the city council. But anyways, we've provided that language. We've also gotten an appraisal for that property. The appraisal came in lower than the selling price requested. So Tony and I had a great meeting with the broker last week, and we're waiting for them to get back to us. And
Last week meeting Friday,
Yeah,
so
so-
it's not that long.
Yeah, so, still out on that, can't give you much more information. If we do agree on a selling price and we start the due diligence process, including property inspection, neighborhood outreach, and then the actual designs. If we cannot agree on a selling price, then we'll pursue other sites. So, I'm gonna go ahead and turn over to Tony to talk about kind of some of our funding outreach.
Okay, so things move quickly in our world, really, and especially with funding. So we were working on two fronts, three fronts, four fronts. Okay, so one, I went to Washington D.C. in the first week of March 6th, March 7th, and I met with Derek actually in his office for a while. We talked about housing, some other things, and the shelter. Met with Senator Murray's staff, and also met with the HUD assistant deputy director. That was the week. That Marsha Fudge resigned, and so he was number 3 in line. And Calvin says maybe he doesn't want to be that director, just like Director Fudge. She just wants to spend time with her family after so long in DC, and Calvin feels the same way. But he knows what we're doing here, right? And we presented the idea. And also, I met with Representative John Garrett-Mendy, who's number 4 in the House. We were friends when he was Lieutenant Governor in California. Pitched the project too. He's old Peace Corps, so we have a really strong bond there. So on that level, that was fine. Also, all of our local officials know about this. We were in Olympia. All of us were in Olympia off and on, and we all talked about each other's projects, and the shelter is kind of a priority. The second thing is last week, Carl Hoffman, who's one of the top folks in commerce, called and invited me to a meeting with Director Fong at the city of Paulsville. And so I went. I was the only outsider, if you will. Everybody else was from Paulsville or Bainbridge. Heather was there, of course, and her team, and talking about commerce, housing, affordable housing task force, and how we're all working together, which is the most important thing. And that's the message that commerce knows that we're doing and wants to hear from us. So the next round of Apple Health at Home money is about to come around. And as commerce, as Director Fong, Kirsten was there as well at this meeting. So they emphasized the importance of the wraparound FCS for the operational costs, right? So it's a strong desire to make sure that, especially in shelters, we're using FCS. And I mentioned the Evergreen Bright Start project as well. Well, the booklet I gave you, that was what we presented it. I'm sorry, I have other copies and I'll bring them over, but they were at home. I forgot. But we presented that we all worked on that together and presented that to the folks over in DC. So it kind of went off well during that meeting. Derek, he called me on a Wednesday night and said, "Hey, we're giving you $500,000 from this crossing finally, and the Senate's got to approve it," which just happened the next day. And then it was public announcement. It was just pretty exciting to be in DC when that stuff was going down, right? So the other thing is the alternatives are even the Washington State Finance Commission funding. We have like alternative sources of funding should one not work out on another one, and they all know what we're trying to do. So that being said,
And I just add, we are going to put in an ask to Murray's office and to Cantwell's office. They come out with this, and then it's a really quick turnaround. So my staff is working through the weekend on those.
there were actually lobbyists who went
Yeah.
to DC on our behalf to talk about this, on DHA's behalf to talk about this, I should say.
And we formally added the hybrid project to the portfolio, the housing portfolio going forward. So as all of these are being pitched at the same time as we're looking for funding.
Okay, I'm done. Really. Wait, just real quick. So we got 2 million for Mills Crossing, 500,000 still leaves us short about 1.5, but at this point I'm not worried about it, right? So that's a relief. Nanette, the gap funding, Commerce said by the end of this week we'll know if they're going to cover it, but they encouraged us to do it. So I think that they will. So, so I don't think I'll have to come to the city to cover that. Okay. All right.
Great.
I'll speak to the outreach. So once the site is identified and secured, we intend to roll out.
Monica, and so because Tony talked about so many projects, when you're talking about the project, can you make sure to identify which specific one
Of
you're talking about?
course.
Thank you so
Of
much. I
course.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Monica Bernard with Kids at Mental Health, and talking about the low barrier shelter navigation center pallet site that Jill spoke of. So when a site is determined, we will engage in a community outreach process with, I would presume, the city council person as part of that. When we've done a project like this before, we did it with Pendleton Place. The outreach approach that we took is we went to the businesses immediately adjacent and knocked on doors and had a Q&A, FAQ, frequently asked questions for people to let them know. And then we also hosted a community meeting that was it was really important to have representation of people who can answer the questions that our residents are going to have. So it wasn't just the provider hosting a community meeting. The city council person was there. The captain of the police department was there. Mayor Wheeler was there, thankfully, planning department, service providers. So I think it's really important to have that, one or more of those meetings, so that people can ask their questions and good things came out of that. So that's the approach we anticipate using this time. So.
And then as part of the hybrid shelter plan, you may recall that we wanted to do this in conjunction with the voucher referral program, hoping that the local shelters could sign on with MOUs with the housing authority to make direct referrals to people who are ready for independent living but still need subsidized housing. So we had a big training for all the local shelters and other housing service providers 2 weeks ago Friday. Several organizations stood up, including organizations from Mason County. And so we have signed probably 4 MOUs so far and have had success with those, including.
And we've been doing it.
Yeah, they're
The same
referring
principle.
people in, moving families out of their shelters and into housing. What we get out of that is the agencies are providing the housing navigation services and then continued monitoring to make sure that people are, we kind of do a joint effort, but to make sure that people can stay in the housing that they get. What we're excited about is obviously the hybrid shelter is not going to be done, until 2025. But we're doing this now, and so we're collecting the data now so that we can say, hey, this is an important part of this model for making sure that we, one, take people into the shelter, quickly move them into a better environment that meets their needs. But then two, once that happens, they have this voucher waiting for them and they can move on and it can clear the bed for the next person. So, it's a constantly rolling idea, pretty unique, and it's not being done in a lot of places. And, but we're talking to HUD about it and they're excited.
HUD knows what we're doing. I mean, they do. You gave me a checklist. They know.
Yeah, it builds capacity into our system.
So operations, I think Joe's
Yeah.
taking the lead.
I'm really excited about the operations plan for the hybrid shelter. So speaking specifically to that, Joe Crane from St. Vincent de Paul, for the ops plan for the hybrid shelter. I'm putting together a short list right now of experts. Some of them were working with Kitsap Connect back in the day. In fact, I met with Kelsey Stedman this morning. I'm meeting with Yolanda Fong from KPH on Friday. And we're going to have Kitsap Mental Health, Kitsap Public Health, Bremerton Housing Authority, ACR, the Food Coalition, expertise from each of these organizations working with me to finalize the RFP that we're going to be putting out. We plan on, once that operations plan is developed with the Kitsap Connect-esque feel to it, building this ecosystem of connectivity with all of our wraparound services in the community to make sure that we're all communicating with each other. We have coordinated entry. MCS is a part of this operations plan and expectation for whoever accepts the RFP. They know what the guidelines and the city's expectation and are the co-chairs of the Affordable Housing Task Force expectations of operations, so that they're not operating this in a silo, that whoever comes in, we've already heard from three agencies, Catholic Community Services, Eagles Wings, and Salvation Army are all interested, but we want to be transparent and we want to do an RFP process so it's equitable for in the selection. But by providing this RFP, we can provide expectations to the operating agency so that they know this is the expectation. So then they're not alone and unafraid. They're doing things by themselves, but they have the interconnectivity of the service providers and the organizations that I mentioned.
Thank you.
And for St. Vincent de Paul, thank you all for your support. Mayor Wheeler, we got our pre-development funding, as you saw, for the development project on Callow. So thank you all very much for that.
Thank you so much for the updates. Okay, so counselors, we have until about 5:30 for Q&A, and I bet y'all have some questions and compliments and all kinds of things. So Denise, you, and then Jane, go right ahead.
Compliments always. And I continue to be really happy about the process and how comprehensive you're thinking as far as wraparound services are concerned. There's still a lot of excitement out there. Monica, when you talk about the outreach, I know that the city also has a process, right? If there's a permit involved, there's usually a process. And so I wonder if you're going to be kind of coordinating those, timing them so that they enhance one another. I don't know. Public meeting, community meeting, whatever, but just to streamline it as much as possible. But it could be that what you're talking about is so specific.
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. If there's a requirement, if we're going to have public hearings on this, then obviously we would want to kind of do it independently or have it be synergistic with that. If there isn't a public hearing required, then we still want to have a community meeting to provide the community opportunity to ask the questions that they may have. So we'll work with whatever process.
And we don't really know at this point whether there's,
Yeah, but we will certainly work within that.
And I just want to add, one of the things we didn't talk about is the relationship between the housing authority as a lead, that continues to be what you want us to do, and the city and the county. I can say that Doug Washburn and Carl Borg from the county have been at every single meeting, and as we're putting together this development team, which is required for some of the funding applications, the development team is not just BHA. We have me and some key staff. We have people at the table. We have Doug and Carl, and we would like a representative from the city, whether that's the mayor or somebody that the mayor selects. I would just ask the city that that's a very important part of this. And so, and I think I've spoken with some of the, like Garrett Jackson, about this, and I think that I've also talked with Mike Riley about what the MOU would look like. So what I'm working on with my legal team is the criteria that the housing authority would like to see in an MOU between us and the city and us and the county and our partners. And so allowing you guys will be doing the same, that's what you need to see. Actually the mayor will take the lead on that, but what you need to see, but that is a part of this. Okay.
Jane, yeah, Jane's up.
Thank you so much for all
Robust.
the work you're doing. I know you also have other jobs you're doing besides this, and this must take an amazing amount of time. One thing, and I mentioned this to Tony last night, is a key player that's missing and that contributes to our housing shortage is the Navy.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see somehow the Navy get involved, doing some, whatever they can to help you. And I'm not sure how.
It's on my
to do that.
whiteboard, and Joe was at that meeting, when we met with them, and, they came, well,
Yeah, they-
Jennifer, I think,
Jennifer
she's
came
a
to-
senior civilian on the base.
senior,
Yeah.
she's the executive director
Yeah.
now, our chief, right? So,
I think that's.
we've been just so busy.
Yeah,
So, but it's on my white.
Mhm.
okay, because they need to step up and really help with this too.
What
I
do you-
talked to the PSNS commander this morning at the KETA event, specifically about childcare. So that's another portion of our project at St. Vincent de Paul. But once we get in front of anybody, we always talk about the task force, all the projects in the portfolio. So when I do get that meeting scheduled with them,
I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you.
Anna.
Thank you. These are great. I would like.
I have a copy, so I'll bring them.
And I tell you what, y'all, I'll leave that on the desk in here so you can just access.
There are a
that.
couple of things that have changed, right? Because this is a living document, but that's what we presented.
I guess. So I guess my question, because, St. Vincent de Paul is blocked from me. So definitely in my district, how would you like it described to neighbors?
oh, the St. Vincent de Paul project?
Yes.
It's our campus development project. So that's basically in a nutshell. I was going to go over at the presentation. I don't want to throw out a term prematurely and have somebody misconstrue what's being built there. Because when we say shelter of any kind to the community, they don't maybe understand, low barrier shelter versus, continuous stay emergency shelter. So I thought the premise of the town hall meeting was me to announce it there.
Yeah. I just,
So can we call it the campus, St. Vincent de Paul campus development or property development?
well, that would mean nothing to me.
Okay.
And I think it would mean nothing to most people, and it would sound like the OC. So here's what I've been
There's-
saying,
Okay.
which is permanent housing for women and children.
That's fair.
Okay, good. Also, town hall,
Mhm.
April 8th, 5 p.m. Joe Crane present.
There's affordable housing too in that, but that's another thing that's so complex of a project. There's so many components of our campus development plan. But that's enough. That's enough.
That's what, yeah, I was trying not to steal your thunder.
That's okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, for-
because campus development proposal,
It's a little broad.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Jeff.
Oh,
You have anything?
I'm just clapping in a major thank you all and thanks for the hard work and keep letting us know if anything we can do to help out.
Yep. Thanks for the support. I do want to say,
No, go ahead.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Just because I was late, are you guys still pursuing that one, property that we had been talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's our primary.
okay.
read the minutes, okay? I'm just kidding.
Ran out the house without my keys.
What I do want to say is always the message is collaboration and cooperation, right? And commerce with Director Fong last week, he said something in front of the city of Paulsville, and I felt like he was quoting what we say. Portfolio of projects and collaboration and cooperation is important. And I was the only one at that meeting that he knew, right? So the message is getting across, okay? So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
For your help.
Thanks.
I have a quick question. Okay, so, because we still got 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna take up all the time. But it's something that's really, that I keep thinking about is how much supportive and transitional housing will be freed up in our community, where there's probably wait lists right now. I'm thinking of, like Oxford Housing, Agape, all these other options, and so this is gonna mean there's even more supportive housing options. Because some folks are gonna want to transition out of Oxford into your program, for instance, or the young folks will want to go over there, and so it'll free up housing for older folks. Something that is the most obvious demographic that has, that struggles with houselessness is single males. And I know that it's not always the most politically correct demographic to try to seek funding for, especially considering the barriers and history that many of them face, right? And so I wanted to know if there's anything on the horizon to take care of that demographic.
Yeah, phase 2 of our project, the 110 units of true affordable housing will be 30 to 50% AMI, and that's open to every demographic.
Okay. How about folks with criminal histories?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Specific criminal histories.
I would say that's handled by the specific site.
Okay, because I know that it wouldn't be a great one for some, but I just wanted to know, but for folks with criminal histories
Yeah.
in general, they're able to apply for the phase 2.
Just remember.
I'm thinking of like, theft and,
The specific site and funding, where the funding source comes from, right? Because some of that is dictated by
The
that.
vouchers have very specific rules.
Right.
tell me about the vouchers and how that they can be shared with, because I know that there's a different level, drug offenses, assault, theft, all these are looked at differently, felonies, misdemeanors, et cetera.
Yes.
So tell me about the criteria for the vouchers.
So anybody with a lifetime registry sexual offense cannot have a voucher.
Right,
And that's by law. There's nothing we can do about it.
right.
There's another particular one, which doesn't come up very often, but if they were making meth in a public housing unit at any time, they cannot have a voucher.
Okay.
That's also good.
Specifically meth
Or other drugs.
or other drugs.
But meth is
Manufacturing,
manufacturing drugs in a public housing unit.
selling, distribution,
No, that's
Okay.
one of them.
but manufacturing.
Manufacturing. And then the other ones that we look at as housing authority are really violent criminal.
Right.
Now that is more housing authority decision.
Right.
So we can have some flexibility there, meaning like somebody might have had something 20 years ago and hasn't had a problem since. We could have some flexibility, and then really our board kind of dictates those decisions, but those top two are not negotiable.
Okay. And something that's really kind of gaining popularity, or at least attention, is expungement of records. I imagine you would have similar criteria. If it's something that can be expunged, it's probably something that you could work with if it's still on their record.
Yeah,
Maybe that's maybe we talk about it at another point in time.
yeah, possibly.
Okay. Thank you very much for your good work. It is 5:30 and actually it's 5:29. So we've got a minute to spare and do some do some chair shifting if we need to, so that we don't have to sit so close, Eric.
I just want a big hug.
Great. Thank you very much. You guys are amazing and doing great work.
Okay.
It's all about the marathon here with these folks. All right, let's do this back. All right. Let me get my script back up and running. All right. I'm gonna ask folks to just settle down. You're so excited to be here tonight, I know. Sensitive recording materials. Okay, that was good. I'm glad that they were able to come and present for us and give us all the presentation, a little bit of everything, sprinkling of everything there. Next up, we have briefings on agendable items. Mayor Wheeler is here to present on item 1, confirm reappointment of Holly James to the Civil Service Commission.
That's it.
Okay, there we go. He likes the short study sessions too. Yeah. Gotcha, Michael.
You stole my presentation.
Oh, that.
That's all he's prepared.
Counselors, but really, you want me to go ahead and, we'll go ahead and defer to counselors for questions?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Michael.
just wanted to ask how long she has been serving on this.
been a while. I'm not sure how many times she's re-upped. I'm always happy to have Holly serving on this commission due to her background. She's got an HR background, of course, and as always, the biggest criteria lives in the city and cares about it, wants to serve.
Any other questions, Councilor Jane?
She served on it 21 years.
21.
21 years, okay.
It says in her application.
So do you get other applications from people to be on civil service?
Yeah, on this one, I went ahead and made a direct reappointment.
Mhm.
So I'll ask any advertisement for the position. I think she is eminently qualified, incredible background, but after 21 years, if there are other qualified folks out there, I think it's in the city's interest to look for it.
I continually market our city for people to be involved in our committees and commissions, and I am continually doing that.
Any other questions, councilors? Yeah. Go ahead.
So she says she's been 19 years as chair. There's 3 people on the commission. Does that come up every year for a new vote? Delve into the rules. Or is it, I should just ask, it's not part of the appointment to be chair. It's, I'm guessing, self-selected among the 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd just like to reiterate, I think we say this often. I think that there are many positive things of historical information and experience. And I also believe that fresh perspective is vitally important. So I do hope that our commissions and committees and whatever are structured in that way, or that, we do want to have fresh perspective. I look at 21 years on a commission and am shocked, frankly.
Time for a plaque.
Well, yeah. I mean, I staying in a job is one thing, but volunteering on one commission, I know Holly, and she's very experienced back when she was working.
Councilors, any questions before I kind of chime in real quick?
Yeah.
Anna?
Thanks. So has anyone new come onto this commission in the past several years?
Have to go back. I think so. Yeah. Had some, yeah.
Apparently, there's also Beverly Kincaid and Charles Bates.
Charles Bates.
Just a quick question. Eric, how long have you been on council collectively?
14 years. Give or take.
I just want to say I really appreciate your institutional knowledge, and that's something that's very valuable about having somebody there for 21 years.
It absolutely is. And here I'm just, I'm not, yeah, it's completely useful. It's been a big help to us with Eric, and I'm sure it's been a huge help to the Civil Service Commission with Holly. It's just, I'm hoping, I think what we're hearing is that we want to strive to make sure that we have a balance of people who have an idea of how it's always been done, and people who want to know, why can't it be done differently?
Sure.
That's it.
Eric?
Okay, so I'm not going to speak for the mayor. I think he hears some of your concerns. When I look at all these commissions, I see Civil Service Commission, and no offense to anybody that's on it, not the most exciting commission to be on, in my opinion. Okay, and not one that's in like hired man like some of the others. I could be wrong, but
That's right.
it's one of those situations where you're grateful you got someone on there, and we got a good person on it, not a great person. And it reminds me of the audit committee. We had a CPA, Dennis Traeger, that was on for 20 plus years, maybe even longer. And the committee at the time said, let's try someone new. Yeah, we got someone new, a CPA from
that moved here, he wasn't here very long, and now we've had a void. One of those things, careful what you ask for. Maybe in certain positions, you're blessed to have the mayor's saying that it's being run correctly, and legal's not, there's not an issue. It's not broken. If you don't try to fix this one, if it's not in high demand, that's all I'm saying.
How do you feel, councilors? You want to put this on consent or on general?
I'm fine with consent.
Consent.
Thank you very much.
Just need to be shared.
Okay. All valid points. Just wanted to move us along. Thank you so much for your points, everybody. Public Works Operations Manager Glenn Akramoff. Did I say it right?
That works.
Can you repeat it for me so I do say it right?
Sure, a crumb.
Akramoff.
You always remember with a crumb off.
A crumb off the table. I can remember that because I don't leave a crumb behind.
Someone
All
else
right.
came up with it. I use it because it works.
Thank you, Mr. Akramoff.
Sure.
You're here to present on the street lighting conservation grant agreement with Puget Sound Energy for LED. Sorry, I'm just waiting for a little bit of chatter to die down because we have sensitive recording. This is straight from IT. They want us to be particular. I don't think it's as sensitive if you're out in the lobby. So you're here to present on street lighting conservation grant agreement with Puget Sound Energy for LED conversion phase 1, and I'm assuming this was probably discussed in the committee.
Was finance
Finance.
just yesterday.
Great, perfect. And did y'all give the head nod for
Yes,
it? Okay, Mr. Akramoff, you're up.
Okay, so one of the things we talked about is making sure you knew which area one was. So I have some maps.
Ooh,
Yeah.
printouts. Oh, I'm sorry. I love hard copy.
Are we ready for maps?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we knew where we were talking. So in early in March of 23, we had this was approved to move forward with a partnership with BCC for LED streetlight conversion retrofit. So now bringing phase 1 is completed. It was completed in December of 23. And I think it was 85 lights were done. One of the things that I wanted to take a minute and highlight because it's really exceptional news that we have here. Originally, it was projected that it would cost us $143 a light. And that projection was really high because some tariffs and some things have changed. And I think the part of that process is encouraging the fact that we want to use less power and conservation is such a big part of what we're working on. So is PLC. So we got in early. Public Works Director got us early in this process. So we were one of the first in. So we're also getting a grant to pay for it. So I wanted to highlight it. It cost us $15,000 to do the original retrofit. That was not just the retrofit. They also make sure that all the lights are functioning correctly and that their trees are trimmed around them so they can do the work. So all of that was included. Our grant is for a little over $11,000. 11,725 to be exact. So our net cost for this retrofit was $3,298 or $39 per light. So it's exceptional for that. We budgeted approximately $700,000 to do this based on that. If the process continues, we're going to be in the under $200,000 range. So it's really good news that way. We're also able, PSC is also moving faster, and we can encourage them to do so because of the funding. So I wanted to highlight that phase 2 is near complete. Phase 3, we just received the contract this week to move forward with phase 3. And phase 4, we heard from the finance committee that they are doing the field assessments right now. So they had told us they would get us to probably phase 4 or 5 this year, but it looks like because we had no negative weather, they're
of schedule. So the main function for this is to accept the grant and accept money, pay us back for being a part of this program. I also want to highlight that we will be, because they're moving so fast, we probably won't bring these back one at a time. Probably bring them in a group next time so we can go through the process a little quicker. And they're going so fast, which is great news. And it should also be highlighted that we will save, this saves a significant amount of money in just operational costs. And the money that is saved that was originally budgeted can be used elsewhere as well. And those are all operations, it's all budgeted operations. I think that's what I was going to put out there. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kremoff. Counselors? Jane?
I just want to say how thankful I am that you were here for this short period of time in Bremerton. I'm really sorry that you're leaving the city. We really need your skill set, and I appreciate it. And, here's $500,000 that we'll have for traffic calming, street maintenance, whatever, parks, that's a big deal. That's a lot of money that you were able to help us save. I appreciate it. And the other work that you've done over in operations. Sorry to see you go.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jane, did you have any questions about this, or
Yeah,
would you like?
no,
Okay.
I was
Just honoring
commenting it.
Glenn, making him blush over there. Michael?
So I was just gonna, because we were talking about this yesterday. So if you look on the packet map, there is no phase one. Phase one was different pieces in other phases. Those have been eliminated and they've just drawn the lines. So just to kind of be clear. So if you look at this, you'll see that they're in other phases, but now those are the phases and they've been renumbered. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna?
Thanks. So, to your comment, and I'm extremely sorry to see you go. Dagnabbit. But that was my question, was how these maps in our packet relate. Because here, the area of work is just 11th to 6th Tipperwell. But it's all of these phases.
Yeah. We have 15 total phases. And
Yeah.
like was said, that this one kind of got us started. And so it was a little bit different than the others. We also made some changes to it. So we moved a couple of them around because the priorities were not ours. PSC just put it together. So we reprioritized for them and they were very receptive to that. So that's how that all kind of started, a little clunky, but it's a.
Mr. Akromoff, I cannot believe the immense savings that you have achieved. So it's not only massively under budget, it's also way ahead of schedule. Thank you.
I think the credit definitely goes to PSC and our director for getting us involved in the process so early.
Counselors, how would you like to treat the item?
Consent.
Sense. All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Kremoff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And thank you for the compliments, and it's been an honor to serve Bremerton, even though it's a short time. So thank you.
Thanks.
Maybe he'll be back one day. Oh, yeah,
Never say never.
that's right. I hear we're going to have a lot more affordable housing in the future too. So, all right. Next up, we have Internal Services Manager Matt Donnelly-Cott here to present item number 3, acceptance of Department of Commerce Local and Community Projects Program Grant and agreement for Admiral Theater facilities improvements. And this includes a budget adjustment. So did this go through finance? Let's go to anybody?
I went to Public Works.
Went to Public Works. Okay, great. And Public Works, was this given the head nod? Did you have any?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Did have questions, but I can ask him as he enters.
Sure. The reason that I started putting this in the beginning is I would like to kind of know kind of what the hesitations are and concerns that came out of Public Works. If there was any questions that were asked of these guests that maybe they that weren't answered then that could be answered now. So can you give me a briefing on concerns and questions you might have had?
Yeah, I think the one that bubbled up for me was just clarification of the process for these kinds of grants. We own a lot of different properties. How do we select the property that we own to go after what money? I know you have an answer for this, but I just would like to know.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
And so in your presentation, maybe you'll be able to address that. Or is there, okay, oh, he's ready. Anything, any other questions or concerns that came out of this agenda item out of Public Works?
No,
Jeff looks like he might be thinking about saying,
I'm pulling up my notes from the meeting.
Okay.
No, there's no match required, so it was straight funding, and I just wanted to make sure the reason we qualified was because city-owned building, and that was another thing that can be checked on, I think.
I don't know, Doug.
if it's a city-owned building?
Well, it is a
Is it
city-owned
what it
building,
is?
but if, yeah.
No, if it was a
That was-
requirement of the grant.
Right, thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Donnelly, take it away.
So I'm here to present the Washington State Department of Commerce grant for the Admiral Theater building. This came to us in early 2023. The city was approached by our lobbyist, Brian McConaughey, with the opportunity regarding a collaborative funding chance for the Admiral Theater. The grant was only available for city-owned buildings. Lobbyist McConaughey recommended the Admiral Theater in a meeting, and he felt it was a good fit. So we didn't decide on which building it was for. We just kind of ran with it, his recommendation. So as far as the selection process goes for the buildings, I'm not too familiar with that, but it came from him. We didn't select the building. So I don't know if that answers your question completely, but that's kind of how this one came about. In February, the city, in coordination with the lobbyist and our representative Spencer Hutchins, applied for the 2023 Local and Community Project Program grant. In July of last year, we received preliminary award from the Department of Commerce for the direct appropriation of $165,000 for the Admiral Theater facility improvements. This is a reimbursement grant, and we will need to do a capital expenditures budget adjustment with an offsetting grant revenue budget adjustment, resulting in a net zero fiscal impact. This project is 100% grant funded, so no additional funding is needed. Prior to applying for this grant, we met with Admiral Theater Foundation members and building staff to determine what would be the best focus for this grant should it be awarded. After discussions with Brian Johnson and Nate Murphy and other staff, we settled on 5 main categories: lighting, life safety, plumbing and fixtures, weatherization, and building system improvements. These 5 main categories will all be addressed with the work we will be able to do with this grant. Just to highlight a few of the projects we are considering at this time are balcony aisleway lighting improvements, HVAC improvements, 1 window replacement, because that's all that's needed. All the other ones have been replaced. Entry door seals or door set replacements, and marquee neon light repairs. These are all possibilities for us to focus on, but we'll be working with Admiral staff to address the highest priority issues we can accomplish with this grant. The timeline for this work to be completed is November of 2024. And then just a little shout out to Admiral staff and the volunteers. They've done a great job with the building, all the ins and outs. They do an amazing job. So we're happy that we're going to be able to partner with them on these facility improvement projects. If you have any questions I didn't answer, hopefully I can.
Okay, counselors. Denise?
I love the Admiral Theater. It's one of the things that if I'm looking at a new place to live, there better be a historic theater and a independent bookstore and a few other things. I'm wondering, and this might be more of a question for the mayor. I wonder if we really, if the public realizes how much we end up giving to certain places via a variety of sources. We have the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. That's pretty public, and people see those amounts, and there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of emotion around it. It doesn't always seem like apples to apples. You know the drill. And I want to make sure that LTAC especially is aware of other funding that the city is assisting in securing for properties or programs that may be applying for city funding through LTAC. And so I wonder if that's easy to do. It's more of a process question for LTAC. They like to know not only, well, they ask in the application, what other kinds of funding, are you getting? These types of things aren't listed. Other city funding is not listed. And so maybe we need to add a question like that.
Can I just, for clarification, they are not required to put other city funding on other funding
Well,
received on their LTAC, because I believe that they are.
we don't
Maybe there's
if there's other city funding. We ask, what are your other funding sources for this project? And when I was at the chamber, I would list member dues, but there's no specific question about other city funds. I don't
My
think.
guess is that this money never goes on their budget.
I don't.
Well, this is facilities, capital, this is a capital improvement, LTAC. Most operating funds are meant for general operations. LTAC's probably has a specific earmark for marketing. You can see
Definitely.
what's gonna be the marketing return on 155,000 a year, those type of things. That can't pay for a new heating, cooling system, plumbing.
But there are other facilities that the city owns that could use the $165,000 for, so I just wonder what the process is with that. And the fact that our lobbyists came with that I guess adds credibility. I just there's so much bias inherent in systems that I'd like to get rid of it if we possibly can. And it's just a question that's come up. There's a lot of envy of the Bremerton or of the Admiral Theater in town because of what the city does.
But.
Go ahead.
But we own the Admiral Theater.
And we own the conference center. And we own Pendergast, and we own a lot of facilities. We own the Navy Museum.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, we own various facilities. We don't own the Roxy. The Roxy bought their own. Might be an idea.
I have two clarifying questions, and then I'm going to go to Jeff because I know I was speaking out of turn. But I think something that should be discussed in this conversation is also how much revenue is generated for the city through the different facilities. And we can maybe explore that at a future.
Sure.
Right?
Mhm.
And so how much but also there are community resources like we talked about the conference center at Lytton that it may not be revenue generating. However, it generates revenue. It's an economic developer. You know what I mean? It brings economic development to other, why am I losing the word for that one? For hotels, for restaurants, but my wondering is, and I have a clarifying question for you. When it comes to different kinds of applications, let's talk about the LTAC. Do you have purview within your group to revise the application for LTAC, or is it governed by? Is the application itself by RCW?
Portions of it are, but it's we don't have Brett here, he's but portions of it are, but
okay. So that's something you can talk about in LTAC, right? And so I think here, right now, what we're specifically talking about is just accepting this grant. Do we want to accept this grant and accept the budget amendment? So, Jeff, you were next.
Well, and Mike Riley's.
Oh, Mike Riley.
Yeah, just a clarifying, is one, I think, goodness, this award is not going to the Admiral Foundation. It's going to the facilities budget to improve our building infrastructure. So it's not something that actually are receiving revenue with moving forward in the application. It's not money. It's our building making improvements, just like the library. So just want to clarify that. Two, our lobbyists did reach out. This project with Chris Monitor, the mayor, we had conversations. What would compete well? What facility in the city would compete well with this money? That facility is the only facility that would compete well with this award. So we would have said our parks admin building, that would not have competed well. The type of use of that facility competed well with this award. So it wasn't just, this is where you should go after this. So just wanted to provide some perspective.
Pool might have been a good idea.
Thank you, Director Riley. Well, I think he did try for that one, but let's stay germane, right? Jeff, did you have some questions, clarifying questions?
Yeah, thanks for answering the question on whether only city-owned buildings. And the reason I asked that was to clarify the prioritization and selection process. And so that helps a lot. And thank you for going out and getting this money into a lot of
My predecessor did a lot of the work, so, but yeah.
But my only question is, obviously, to the conversation, very valuable institution. But let's see if I'm correct. I think basically the foundation pays no rent to the city or $1 a month or something along those lines, similar to the Navy Museum.
I'm not entirely sure what the lease is. Mike, do you have it?
That's correct. Okay. Okay. So I just want to clarify that. Do we get any?
We hope that it's not a consideration.
Okay. And the last question is obviously investing in the city-owned building. Do we get any city use? For example, the conference center, I know we can go over there and use reduced rates when we go and meet, same with the golf course. Does the Admiral Theater have reduced rates for the city if the city hosts an event?
I can get back. I do not know that one.
I'll give you friends and family.
Hey now,
Yeah.
Tom.
The last event they had.
That's problem. Okay. Yeah. No, I have to hold up. We should absolutely accept this free money. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Counselors, how do you want to treat it? Consent? Oh, Anna, sure.
Yeah, just to respond to the meta issue and moving right along. But one reason I think for the NB of the really major funds that the Admiral receives is that it so very, very seldom features Bremerton or Bremerton area artists. So it's an opportunity to be a showcase for our town and the people who live here would be really great. That's it. All done.
Thank you.
All done being meta.
Do you want to do this general or consent agenda?
Consent.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donlicott. Okay, and moving right along, we've got Bill Davis here to present on item 4, goods and services agreement with Cummins Inc. for emergency power generation equipment at multiple city water supply sites. Committees,
Went through Public Works.
Public Works, and head nod or questions, concerns? Head nod kind of deal. Okay. Mr. Davis, you're up.
Okay. Good evening, Council. So I'm here to talk about a goods and services agreement we have with Cummins for the purchase, delivery, and commissioning of 5 backup generators at water supply sites that are very critical for the city of Bremerton. Just to give an example of one that we're going to be installing, it's at Pump Station 12, which is in East Bremerton, below Olympus Drive. And during a power outage in East Bremerton, we will pump water from a lower zone up to the highest zone in Bremerton to supply water. But currently, the only way to do that is to drive up to the site with the generator. And so this will allow a dedicated generator at that site. So our water resources staff can dedicate their resources to other more important facilities. So that type of benefit is going to get repeated at multiple sites with these generators. This does have a sole source agreement with Cummins. This is a huge benefit to our operations staff. We have it for both water and wastewater. We have consistency of parts and service at Cummins. They're there for startup. There's really good rapport with the Cummins staff. And then this is part of a larger project that you're going to see a contract later in the year for installation of the generators. We're actually ordering these, pre-purchasing them, because it takes up to a year to get these generators. So we want to get them on order, complete the contract for design and installation later in the year. we can install them next year. So the quote was for $391,000 and some change for which included tax for the equipment and the services that Cummins will be providing for us.
Thank you so much, counselors. Any questions? Okay. Consent? Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. We're so easy on you.
Easy peasy.
Yes.
You just said that.
Okay. Next up, this is just, there's no presentation planned for this, so y'all know what's coming up. There's going to be more public comment being accepted for the multimodal, for the bridge, Warren Avenue Bridge discussion. And we don't have any particular things to talk about because we're just consent. Okay. Accepting public comment. So do y'all have any questions about this or any? Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
Is there an expectation that the public will have new information on April 3rd?
That's a good question,
Maybe.
Maybe.
because I don't know what they're commenting on.
Mayor Wheeler, do you have anything that you might add to,
They've been commenting on us a lot.
I know, I guess, okay, so we received quite a lot of, this is my question too. We received quite a lot of public comment at the last meeting. And that's because I think as counselors, we did our due diligence to talk to the folks involved and advise them to come and provide. I just wonder, if there's new information that you are gonna provide for them to process. Because it might just be a little bit more of the same of what we heard last time.
Yeah, as far as I know,
Okay.
I think legislators have taken an interest.
Okay.
But I don't know where that goes and how long,
I think this is kind of, to me, it feels like it's going along kind of like a public hearing requires two public comment periods. Like it feels like that to me, but that's not what we're dealing with right now. So,
My understanding, this was just to give the public more opportunity to let us know how they would like us to proceed if we can.
yeah.
So that's I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Michael.
The second part to the issue is that if we can't, I think we know how the public feels. And I think we know how we feel. And we can feel that with them forever. But does it get us a bridge with wider sidewalks of any degree? And that's what I don't understand what's going on is I don't think it's in the public's hands and I don't think it's in the city's hands. I think it's in our hands. And I don't know why we're not talking about it and we're just waiting to let the people call us names.
So can I just defer to Director Riley for a hot minute here?
So, yeah, I think probably gonna jump in. At the last public works meeting, the discussion was the process, and we had delivered a process for not this cycle, but next cycle, the three resolutions, a letter that's been presented, and have a discussion at council and a vote. As we discussed, there was a recommendation from the Finance Committee, or Public Works Committee, to have an opportunity for additional public comment at this meeting. That was a request from the members. That was a consensus from some. I think you all put up the notes to it.
Okay.
That's what this is, the direction of the Public Works Committee. So you have a public comment period for next Wednesday, and then we'll be presenting the same thing in following.
So let me just defer to the Chair of Public Works about this. So Chair of Public Works, what I'm understanding is that the two public comment period idea really came out of a conversation from y'all. So can you explain that to us?
I can explain that I'm not sure why it is tonight. Next week is when staff was hoping that we would make our final decision. And we told them we had some other people that we were hoping could help us. And if we could delay the final vote until the 17th of April, and they said that was fine. That
Okay.
it wouldn't
So
change
why-
things.
On April 3rd then?
So that we can, I'd like Denise and Jeff to chime in too. Y'all are on Public Works, right?
Sorry.
Yes, and I think we each come to it too, not just as a committee, but as
Mhm.
individuals. And my sense, although I haven't really been all that engaged in it, is that there are legislators that are interested. And there may be some movement. So you know how I am. I'm always hopeful. Man, if we deliver this, I want you buying pizza for everyone.
I have to walk across the bridge to get it. Can I?
Let me
Yeah.
defer to Jeff really quick. Do you have anything
Yeah.
else to add before I
Yeah,
go
so
back
I
to?
didn't.
Yeah.
It sounds like what's worth this item is discussing maybe what we discussed in Public Works. Which basically was the timeline, and if April 3rd was any hard deadline, and it wasn't. So staff were totally comfortable with delaying a decision at least until the 17th. And we talked about how the process would unfold in terms of getting a cost estimate in mid-2025, and then by mid-2026 could go out to bid. So we're not off the main timeline, but there is movement behind the scenes with
So-
legislatures to get
Here's,
funding. Sorry, can I fit?
yes, sir.
Oh.
Sorry.
So there are legislatures are working on some of the concerns that have been brought forward. And so we're hoping to get an update. But I would just say for specific public comment, we're going to get comment whether it's a public recognition or an item on the agenda. And we've always had the option when we want specific feedback on something to put it as an item. So, and I know we talked, we're talking last year a lot with Attorney Finnell in terms of should public recognition ever get so awful like the very minor cases we had. One option we do have is to just list specific items that we want to take public comment on, and everything else can be sent by email. So I think this is in that vein of keep it on there and get feedback, or let folks public recognition will speak up.
I don't feel inclined. I mean, part of me wants to kind of take it off, but at the same time, the mayor was gracious to advertise it in his mayor's report. And, but my concern is with Michael.
Well, I'm just saying, like, first of all, everything we do should have some value to it. To me, the value is how do we get everything that he's been working on to get us a feeling that it can be achieved, through the public works and the state. Like, that's what we need. Again, the people, everybody, I mean, we want the widest we can get on the bridge. And we don't want to settle, and we certainly don't want to settle because somebody's not, thinking it all through. Jeff's put a ton of time into this. And but we need, I think when I say we, I'm kind of saying as a body, I feel we don't need the public to tell us to keep pursuing this. That's super clear. We need is for Public Works to say, like, hey, I think we're there or super close. And that maybe somebody at the state to say, like, this sounds doable.
Okay.
But I feel like we're not asking them the questions. We're asking the community, what do you want? And we know the answer.
The reason why a lot of information isn't being shared with other council members at this time was I was questioned if I was breaking quorum, and
Yeah,
we have to be careful about that until we have.
This is a space right here.
Yeah.
This is the appropriate space. Yes.
Okay, so did you get any emails back today?
So I believe Senator Randall has forwarded on to Transportation Committee. I know other representatives are working with the state transportation chair to see if they can talk to WashDOT and what they're able to budge on. So I think those conversations are all happening at the state level.
Right.
And there's possibly a collaborative meeting, to be set up.
So we've explained to Senator Randall that our drop dead date. Do I call it that? We'll cross the bridge on April 17th. But who knows? I mean, there's some people who still think we're narrowing the lanes on the bridge. I've heard that comment numerous times. And the answer is no, we are not narrowing the travel lanes on the bridge.
When you say not narrowing, what do you mean?
From 11 feet.
11.
Current.
They're at 11 now.
There are 11?
Yeah. they've
Oh,
been
the
for years.
lanes, okay.
Oh, lane.
Gotcha.
The lanes,
Oh,
the
okay.
Yeah, we're not-
travel lanes, the
Yeah,
car
we've
lanes.
decided
Sorry.
11 now.
Yeah, let's open a whole new.
Well, it's been asked at every
There
meeting
is
by
a
the same
little
people.
Area to this.
So, before, and, did you speak yet on this, Anna?
Just to say, I think we should talk about it.
Okay, yes, I'd like to hear from Eric too, if he has anything to say. I just want to give everybody the opportunity to speak. And Anna, go right ahead because I see
So,
Eric's still formulating.
okay, so in our packet, we have a cost comparison of 12x8 and the 12x5, which it was bruited as, this would come in under budget. There's virtually no difference in the costs of those two projects according to the information in our packet.
There,
So there doesn't seem to be an overwhelming reason to reopen the 12x8 discussion. Second point is that Director Riley, thank you for mentioning in his letter that funding can be obtained through a loan. My question to this body and anyone else is, can we pursue these in tandem? Can we go for the loan, and if we get some action from legislators, can we repay that loan? It's a question. I don't know the answer.
I guess, can I ask clarification on what you mean there's virtually no difference in the cost? Because to me, it looked like we were 3 million over with the 8-foot side, but $2.5 million under with the 5-foot side.
Okay.
And I still want to defer to Eric on this, but y'all, at the beginning of this whole thing, they weren't even talking about a 12-foot side. So props on that movement, right? So Eric, yeah.
For purpose of public comment, in my opinion.
You're right.
The city makes whatever presentation they want, and this should obviously be included in the packet. And really, what I'd like to hear from the public is we're giving total secured funding is 26.5 million. $5 million for design, 25 for construction. You look at the chart, there's only two alternatives that make that criteria. So what I'd be interested in hearing from the public is, if we're going to stay within budget, with the understanding that the city at this time is not pursuing additional funding, if we want this project at all, we got to stay under budget. If there's no additional funding identified, whether it's for loans or some type of legislative action, given these scenarios, do you want alternative 1 or do you want alternative 7? That's what the public hearing should be, give you input, because then we're going to have another meeting and we're going to get more information. And if we get the best information, like, oh, there's additional money, we can afford alternative X, fine, we can go alternative X. If we can't, then the council should be able to make an informed decision of whether we should pursue alternative 1, alternative 7, or at least have the public comment part in there so we can put on the agenda bill which one we think we were going to go, and then go to the public and vote on it.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is we need to have an actual agenda bill that has a presentation attached to it, and it should be presenting on the feasibility or what the public thinks about alternative 1 and alternative 7, because we've heard a lot about alternative X, right? So I don't know that we necessarily need more public comment on alternative X.
You're gonna get it.
Of course, no, and that's fine. But I think that something that is not clear to the public is that Public Works has busted their asses to get to where we're at here, that there's a lot of work that's already gone into it, right? And that we are not at fault for this budget shortfall, that they are not at fault for the budget shortfall. I mean, I guess, is that something that we can at least honor? Because I guess I'm going off topic here. So I guess that's just something that I keep hearing, and what Michael's wants to avoid, which is just a lot of negativity coming at us, right? And we can handle it. We signed up for this job, but it's not productive. It's not productive.
And I say that planning not to be there on Wednesday anyway, so.
Well, he's not even gonna be there. He's gonna skip the party.
I'll just get to watch them on TV.
What I'm saying is, to Eric's point, that getting public feedback on something new is productive. And so, Denise, go right ahead.
Yeah, I hesitate to do that because it would be disingenuous on my part. I'm not willing to let go of X yet until we know that our legislators they've exhausted, all their attempts. We're very close. We're very close to that. And if we hear from them, sorry, no, we couldn't do it, then okay, I'll look at those two. But I'm still raising money. Don't give me, something to vote on that I'm not going to be able to, I won't be able to support it at that point, unless we have heard from the state. If we've heard from the state, I'm fine with going with
That's my
one of those.
proposal.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point of waiting until the 17th.
Yeah.
So y'all,
So-
let me go to Michael
So
here.
my only concern is I liked where somebody kind of suggested kind of prioritizing these options. Because if we go all the way up to the 17th and then we clear the table and start again and say, do we want one or three or whatever those options are? This is not a quick decision. And, we really want citizen input. And that's why I would advocate that on Wednesday that we ask folks, we double down and say, look, we are trying to get
12 alternative.
12 and 8.
12 and
Thank you,
8.
12 and 8.
Yeah.
But we have to do it. We have to make a change. We want to know what your thoughts are. So
I think we have heard that as well, but you're right, putting it starkly.
I don't think we have heard it well, because a lot of people were just like, just build the 12 and 8.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people who were commenting last week understood what what we have money budgeted for.
if it was that simple, it would have been done months and months ago.
Right. So I think it's a good idea to say, okay, these are on the 17th. These are the two options that we have, and listen to the public. Do you want us to vote for something that we don't have all the money for? Or do you want us to vote for what we have the money for?
So let me do this, because I want to work with with Public Works and with Director Nucky. Oh, Nucky, is he up there? Does he need to speak? He's hanging out here with us.
You're on mute.
He's on mute, but he's ready to talk. My question for all y'all is, can we put together an agenda bill for public comment to be specifically addressing? Tell me what the agenda bill that y'all are putting together actually is going to say, because I don't know that we.
So the agenda bill, it basically just has 3 resolutions associated. And it would be a revised resolution for the 12 by 8 that acknowledges the over budget status, and then resolutions for alternatives. And we just need and we need a preferred alternative because we're high centered. We need to move forward.
Okay. So really quickly, one thing that I know that we won't bother wanting to get public comment on is
8 by 8.
8 by 8. Let's just take that off. We know we're not gonna, But Kylie, what were you gonna say?
You know what the preferred alternative is. That was voted on a long time ago, right? And
Yes.
So you're looking for, what is your next best out of the options that are, if someone had to do a ranked choice, how would they come down on it? Just so that we have that information at this stage. If hopefully we don't need it, right? And things come through and the preferred alternative comes through, but maybe getting an idea from the public of what is most for people number 2.
12 by 5.
We know what it is.
Yeah, we already know that.
But I was just saying that sounds sort of like what maybe Eric was trying to go for, is trying to figure out of the in budget options, which ones do the public have.
And, okay, so to be fair, we've had one group, which I respect, that's mainly the bicyclists that are saying 12 by 5. Put this in the
12 by 8. They're saying 12 by 8.
No. For alternative, you're saying they all want 12 by 5 and no one wants 8 by 8.
Really, they just want 12.
Oh, I
They
understand.
kind of don't care what.
But let's put it in the packet for everyone to make a comment, because last week, I believe, was a concerted effort from one group, because we didn't advertise it, and that's what we got, and that's fine. But be careful about 10, 15, 20 people that decide to come together. And no
Agreed.
offense, that's great. That's what the avenue is for. But we're supposed to put this in the packet, give all 40,000 people in our city at least the opportunity to see it in the packet. We know how many probably will actually look at it. I understand that. We all have busy lives. But at least give everybody the opportunity. And if a bicycling group wants to come down and do that again, that's fine. It's all part of the public process. But we haven't had that public process with alternate 1 and alternate 7 down there. I encourage written comments, encourage public comments, and then get the comment.
Okay.
We already have it advertised, we're gonna do it. Move it forward.
Okay.
Can I have a yes and?
Okay. Yes, and yes,
Just say-
yes, Jeff. Sorry.
Yes,
Give me
and
a
I think you're absolutely right. We should make sure to hear from everybody. One and is, we also have our survey data from the whole project going back, but absolutely should hear from somebody, everybody on a backup. And the other yes and was I had a really good sit down with Director Nucky and Director Riley, hashing out a lot of the questions I still had instead of
Yeah.
emails back and forth. And that was extremely productive and really grateful for it. And that would be my suggestion to the administration, is that if there's going to be any sort of, if they want to do a presentation, right, can't make them, but those same questions I had on what happens if we just charged ahead with 12 and 8, knowing we're 3 million under budget, like what happens to us as a city? What happens, applying for grants versus not? What if, and those avenues, and to put it out there so that the public knows that all those avenues are and have been explored or being explored. That's my suggestion to throw out if the administration wants to present that, because I found it really helpful to know what really was not possible and what is.
Anna. And then after this, I'm gonna say we need a break.
Okay.
Um,
Just to, I take your point, Eric, and I take the point that has been made that often in the city that these bicycling groups, my experience has been, is that my neighbor Jake, for example, who bicycles in the dark to the ferry 5 days a week, he joined a bicycling group because emailing the city by himself, working by himself, was not getting him any safer a route. So I just wanted to make that important point that it's not a special interest. It's something that is more and more pervasive in the city, and I'm pretty sure we're all agreed it's a good direction to go. Alda.
Jane.
I forgot my point.
Director Nucky.
Being honest.
You know what? This is why we need a break. Yeah, but Director Nucky, can I let you have the last word? If that's okay. Well, actually, Michael will have the last word after Director Nucky, and then we're gonna take a break.
I just have a question. So first off, just to let you know, we hadn't planned on any presentation for next Wednesday. Really almost no presentation for the 17th either. The presentation that Councilor Coughlin suggested, I'm happy to do it first off, but are you thinking for next Wednesday or are you thinking for the 17th?
Can I ask if there's any, I mean, like, what would you think of this is like kind of, I don't know. What if the two of you worked on a packet that delivered the questions that the public could pick up? I mean, like, and we could put it in our packet, but also a paper copy that people can have. Would that be something that y'all would be able to do together, you and the director?
I guess it would be, I think.
I would love for Tom to do a brief presentation on why we don't want to go after this grant because it'll take away this grant and hurt this project. I think that's really important for the public to hear. I mean, those of us on, yeah, it didn't take them very long to explain it to me.
Well, but you have experience in public works too. So If there's oh gosh,
Sorry.
Gesundheit, I guess what I'm asking is there any way to honor their request not to have a presentation, but to have another, like a printout copy that people can have with questions answered?
Director Nucky just said he'd be
It's
willing
actually,
to.
you know, the that Mike and I drafted, and it's in the packet tonight. It really speaks to those concerns, those issues and concerns.
Okay, all right.
The reason that I think that they're going to be pretty well informed about, you know, all aspects of our concerns.
So
Michael, oh, sorry, Jeff,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna suggest, yeah, exactly what Director Nucky said, that I think a lot of the questions I had were answered in that, not all of them.
Okay.
I could, because I have the notes, I could write up, I think, my understanding of some of my remaining questions and send that out to council and run it by Director Nucky and Director Riley first to make sure I don't have anything misunderstood. And then that would kind of close the loop on all the initial questions I raised early, and it'd be in the packet for folks to review.
Okay. So we have the letter that's from Director Nucky and Director Riley. And then what I hear you saying is you had a series of questions, and these are questions that are specifically related to, like, that came also from your presentation that you gave too, right?
Right, presentation, then response, and then
Right.
by questions from that response, and we close the loop on them all, I think.
And so you're willing to craft something to send to council that is directly from your notes, that was okay. So
Yeah.
council, are you okay with this course of action here?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to add is, it's a great informative letter, but I want to make sure that it's referred to as a multimodal project the whole time, because in some instances, I think it was called pedestrian.
Agreed.
Good.
Without changing the letter, which has already been published, could we write an addendum to correct that? Or do you want to just correct the entire letter and resubmit into the packet?
I'm happy.
Not like an official
It's not.
requirement, it's just a letter that's in the packet. If they want to make a correction on the verbiage, to make it consistent or whatever, but it's,
We're just staying consistent with the original
Okay.
submittal to the state back in 2019.
No, it calls it both things in the letter.
And we've advertised it as the roles of the city.
It's okay.
The grant, we call it pedestrian, but in our project title, call it. So they're trying to be consistent with what you do.
Oh, Eric's suggesting a slash. Can we just, come on, the semantics here. Do you want, you hear our feedback on it. Michael, last word, and then we're taking a break.
Well, we've kind of been touching on it, but like, do we have state and even public works support for the project, but just not the funding issue? Is that a true enough statement?
I gotta tell you, the legislators I talked to said that it wasn't necessarily about the plan. Okay, I talked to our legislators too, that it is encouraging that there's public feedback, but really we're an underserved community. We have a population that doesn't get nice things, and we deserve nice things. Is kind of the gist, right? We deserve nice things in Bremerton.
I say that all the time.
And that's what that's what this whole movement is about, is we deserve nice things.
I guess what I'm asking is the work ahead of us to just secure that funding?
Yes.
They've got till the 17th.
That's the only thing.
They've got till the 17th.
We don't have to persuade.
Yeah.
Well, let's get out our
That's-
checkbooks.
Public Works is not more than.
$3 million. I got $1.
And then, okay, and then I just may go over to finance then too, then what are options? Can we, I don't know, loan or bond or, any of these other tools, put in a whole bunch of red light cameras? What could we do to do this?
Oh my gosh, okay.
Well,
This is another discussion for another day.
But that's the point, is that I hope I'm not speaking, for other folks, but you got the most maybe knowledge on this on council, and then Public Works does, but then some of us are, just trying to get up to speed and understand. So, and then I feel like if I don't understand, then
So let's do this, if it's okay, if I just kind of cut you off, because I gotta go to the bathroom really bad. And the public can know that if they want to, I don't even care. But I think that at our next study session, we need to have a more in-depth discussion about funding. We need to talk about if there's some, like, what are we willing to cut? Or do we really agree with increasing fees and taxes to the public to pay for this? Do we really agree with loans? Right now, I think what we need to do is just agree to get this out to the public. And I really appreciate you bringing it up. What's the point of it? Is there new information? And I guess the new information has been provided. We have the letters. We have.
I felt that when people were advocating for this, they wanted to hear from the public. So we need to tell the public what we need to hear, not what we need to hear.
Yeah,
but
what questions we need answered.
Why this is even on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is a lot of feedback we heard. The same questions I had. Did you consider this? Did you pursue this? What if you tried this? What if you tried this?
And
So
so-
making sure those are all answered. Yeah.
So some of that could be answered with the direction that you're taking with communicating with Director Nucky and Director Riley. We also have that letter that's in the packet. And so do you still want me to pursue asking Director Nucky for a short presentation?
Let's go to the break.
Let's go to the break.
You want to take a break on this?
I think valuable if you would like to, but I know it's a lot of information to put together. So.
Okay, let's see what we can do to get the public some more new, valuable, quality information, or at least reiterate what we already know in a better way. And we're waiting until the 17th because Denise is gonna get those.
I'm not.
Well,
I mean,
you know what? It was
Everything's
your
out there.
manifestation that brought us the new biennium, the living up in the biennium. So I'm gonna just, I'm not, it was, well, she was saying, let's not count this out. When I was saying the whole time, we're not gonna make it. So I don't want to be that negative, this time around. Maybe there's something, a Hail Mary that's gonna happen. We deserve nice things. Let's take a break. Do you want to come back and talk about this more then, folks? After we take a break, or we're gonna, okay, all right. So what I'm gonna do is actually give us, I'm gonna give us a bit of a break. I'm gonna give us a 10-minute break so that we come back at 6:45, okay? And with that, let me put us on break. We'll see what Director Riley, is there any kind, are we still recording? Okay,
Yeah, we're recording.
okay. All right, I bring the meeting back to order. So I think, we're gonna have some quick presentations from, staff, to go ahead and add to our discussion. So Director Riley, you want to come on up and talk about, I don't know, what do you do? Money? You do money, right? Yeah.
Today
Yeah,
we do
all
money.
right. Talk to us.
All right, just a little bit of recap. I was hearing some questions about funding, what options are available to council and kind of loans, grants. A lot of the answers are in the letter that we drafted. So I'll start with the loans. That's been a topic in there. We don't recommend going out for a loan for an asset we do not own. So we did put that in there. The dollar amounts are in there. Going out for the $3.8 million gap right now. Now that number is without the 500,000 that we may or may not get. So 3.8.
Where's the source of the 500?
Climate commitment.
Climate
Yeah.
Commitment Act, which is coming up to voters to repeal.
So
that if they vote for it, they're voting to repeal it.
And if it gets repealed?
We don't get that 500,000.
And it impacts a few other things.
Oh, yeah.
So right now we don't have it as committed, in there right now until that goes through. But even so, at 3.8 million at 2%, the loans are between 1% and 2%. Not sure so I went worst case at 2% in your packet shows you what the interest is on that and what the commitment over 20 years for the repayment. We don't recommend going for loans. Also with those loans, we spoke at I think a previous study session. They're highly competitive. Those loans are gonna be highly competitive. There's not a lot of money there to be able to put out. So this project being a state funded bridge project, not a Bremerton asset, how well we compete, it'll be just like us trying to compete for grants on top of this asset. So the likeliness, not sure, we could be awarded, but I don't think it's something you could hedge your bets on. I think you're gonna get secured funding through loans. And then on the flip side with grants, the other alternative for funding is this bridge is completely state funded. We do not want to federalize this project. That increases cost about 30%. Tom could speak to more of this. We had a pretty in-depth conversation with Councilmember Coughlin. Increased cost by 30%. You go through different permitting, timing delays. Even Shane could speak a little bit. I won't get too deep. But again, those funding sources kind of push off the table when you look at state funding, the state grants. And those are typically $500,000 chunks through TIB. We could secure a little more funding, but we have $3.8 million to close. Be multiple grants, and again, how well will we compete with this project? It's already funded 26.5 against other projects in our region. We don't think we'll be likely to secure those, but again, it could happen. So we don't want to say it's not possible. Again, that's addressed in the letter as well. Existing resources in the city don't have existing resources to fund that gap. So, anything else I missed?
Okay. So guys, can I continue?
Yes.
Okay. So, so we as a city really don't have the resources or the ability to close the gap. Is that a fair statement that council? Okay. So it looks like our options are working possibly with the state. And as you've said a couple of things, that it's their bridge and they're doing the work, and
There you go.
I think there's well, anyways, I'll just not go any further down that. But there seems to be, if we can come up with a different solution with the U-bit, but they don't seem to be open to that. And then the other option is going to try to get them to increase the amount that's there. But look at our process. I don't know what it would take for them to award that delta. So some folks said they spoke to some of our legislatures, did anybody explain to you the path that it would take, like to make a change like this?
I think our best bet is poking at some of the costs. If you don't include the changes, basically that came about in the past few months from WashDOT, we're in budget. Well in budget. It's just, that's in my opinion the best path.
So
What's the process?
What process?
Can I,
All right, let's wrap it up. Time's gonna solve this.
Tom Nucky?
Just real quick, the one thing that Mike did a great job talking about the grants. I just wanted to add one point, and that is that even if we were to go pursue state grants, not only would we, be guaranteed to receive them, but those are the same grant funds that we pursue for our other priorities, like the 6th Street Road diet, like the Naval Avenue Road diet. And so if we're putting all our eggs in one basket, then we're setting aside some other high priority projects for the city in order to get, an extra 3 feet on one side of the bridge potentially. So I just wanted to make that point.
Could I just chime in on something that's weighing on me? And I want to, kind of honor like the work that Jeff's done on this about picking at some of the costs. My concern with that is that we have a series of engineers who are saying this is what we want. I don't know how not to trust that. And especially with the added layer of the concern that WashDOT won't accept the project without their recommendations. So my question related to that is, what is the advocacy that's being done to lobby to WashDOT to change their mind on the decisions that they've mandated to us should be part of this project? Specifically, look, for example, the catwalks.
Well, the thing is we're asking our state legislators to talk to people above WashDOT's bosses and say, prove to us that another city has had to buy $1 million piece of equipment.
Okay.
Prove to us that they've had to pay $740,000 for that. Our own staff even questioned whether or not that amount of catwalk was necessary. So those are things that have been added in since the last council voted in for X. So those are by having the head of the Department of Transportation actually talk to WashDOT direct and say, why is this really needed? And that's our only out. We're not asking them, hey, can we have 3 million more? Because we understand that is a long process. It's trying to look at some of the
Trying to get an appeal from the people above WashDOT. Okay, Denise.
Yes, and so when I say trust the process, it means let's allow our state representatives to do their job. And some of their job is during session and sometimes it isn't. And sometimes it's shaking things up. And Senator Randall is a shaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's see what she can do.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Let's see what she can do and give her the time to do it. And I don't need to know what she's doing. I don't need to know the conversation she's having or who she's talking to. It's in her hands. It's her job. And she might come back empty.
And let me ask really quickly, is there any other staff members that has anything else to add to our conversation? It's okay to say no, but if you want to, now is the time. Sure.
And that is that we're really looking at two different conditions for funding. We're looking at an over budget in the design funding this year for alternative X to the tune of $800,000, and that doesn't assume commitment funds that could come to us, which would reduce that $800,000. But then also there's the construction overage as well, and that construction overage is $3 million. So there's two different conditions we're dealing with right here. That is sure council is gotcha. The design funding will be at the end of this year, and all of it, and then the rest of it is construction.
But just to clarify the design, we're already short no matter which design we choose. So that is something that we might need to make hard decisions collaboratively on what to cut, but that's already a given. We already know that. What I hear my fellow counselors saying is that they've put it in the hands of legislators to appeal to the higher ups, but that they're also understanding of the fact that on April 17th, that they know we have to move forward and support something that's hopefully within budget, But, and also in accordance with WashDOT's requirements, that if they don't change their mind. But I definitely agree
So
that
let's pull it from Wednesday.
Well,
What's the value? We have no new information. We're waiting. We're giving it a chance. Let's not get people all riled up.
okay, I'm happy to take it off if y'all want to take it off for this Wednesday. Or,
And thank you for bringing up the April 17th deadline, because staff has told us that's a rock hard deadline.
yeah,
We could publish the information that we have on April 3rd, because that wasn't, the mayor did announce it in his report, and just say, we're not taking public comment because we're waiting.
counselors, I'm gonna just defer to you on how you want to do this. Do you want to take public comment or do you not? Let me just kind of go around, thumbs up, thumbs down. Public comment, yes. No public comment, thumbs up, thumbs down.
That's not a question. The question is whether to put it on as a separate agenda item for public comment. So, I mean, we're going to get comment or public recognition if we don't put it on as agenda item. So,
Yeah, so let's have informed public comment.
I do like, Eric had made a specific recommendation, I believe, that kind of willowed it down, distilled it down, to get public opinion on the 8 and 8 or, the 12 and 5. That's something I could see doing so that we have a second alternative. If we don't get manna from heaven.
Because there won't be a lot of time on the
Right.
17th.
right.
So if we need a plan B, this would be to get a plan B so that we can move quickly.
So here's what I'm hearing. We need to create this to focus on alternative 1 and 7. And if folks want to start talking about a 12 by 8, then it wouldn't really be germane, right?
I don't see any point to talking about alternative 1, which is the 8 foot on both sides.
It's in budget. I think we should let people have the opportunity. We wouldn't be transparent. if we
Kylie?
didn't.
Maybe just give them an opportunity to say, which of these do you want us to take off the table completely for our next discussion?
Yeah,
And you're
right.
gonna have to pick your top 2. So which one of these is absolutely
I like that.
that you want?
What's a no-go?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then you, by default, have the top 2.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah,
It's
so
not, I mean, you can phrase that, I think at one point when we had a vote on shelter tested, it might have been Councilor Younger who just said, like, when you start your public comment, say A, B, or C, or something like that, but just say, which of these do you want us to not ever bring back and forth with you, or something like that?
Yeah.
You guys figure that out. But
Yeah.
that way we can put one of these, give it its last.
Okay.
like if you announce it as we as a council are doing everything we can to make the current preferred alternative happen, there's information in the packet. But let's say if we can't, comments. I don't think you can limit it on. I don't know.
You could also limit the time. You could have a 2 or 1 minute public comment.
Sure.
To get that information. Like I said, because we're not voting on anything that night, that I'm gonna opt to do a work obligation that night, so I'm not gonna go. So I'll watch if there is public comment, I'll just watch it. So I don't really feel strongly, I don't want.
Yeah, I suggest that's something that someone brought up at AWC, which is their mayor or city manager would, when there was a huge crowd of people who all wanted to comment, he would say, how many of you are here for X? And he would say, and after there'd been a lot of repetition, this person would say, does anyone have anything new to say? Which I thought was, it's like, do you?
I don't care for that.
Okay.
It's like, if we're gonna let people talk, you let everybody talk.
It's not saying you're going to cut them off, but just saying, do you have something, think about it. Do you have something new to say?
Another way that this is kind of thing has been handled is you get 30 minutes for pro, 30 minutes for cons. So if I were to offer 15 minutes for speak on alternative 1, 15 minutes to speak on alternative 7, or do you want me just to phrase it? Okay. Yeah. I know it doesn't feel right either.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I don't want to prohibit folks. I mean, there's going to be a lot of repetition. But what I do appreciate is the guidance to direct folks to we're doing everything we can. We're working with legislators to try to get additional funding or to sway the cost of this project to be within budget. However, we need a backup plan. And so we need to know which of these alternatives you don't prefer.
Yes.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm willing to put $1 on it, on alternative 7.
Do you think, well, I don't think that's a bet I'm gonna take.
Yeah.
And then that way,
So I think we understand that, but this is a way to phrase it. Thank you very much, Director Riley. All right. Thank you.
that way all Warren Bridge comments are there, so they're not, you can disallow them without recognition.
And what I want to offer to all y'all is if you individually have any other advice on how you'd like to see it, please send me an email or give me a call because I'm happy to, without breaking quorum, I guess.
I got one.
Meeting.
Okay, let's do that. So we'll wait until the briefing and we'll go over this at the briefing. We actually will have a briefing. So
Can we have like a little handout where people pick up the agenda? They could pick up.
that's literally what I suggested earlier, but.
But I mean, like
it
real
wasn't well
simple, this and that, you know?
Yes,
Okay.
so items to include in that would be a Q&A that I was suggesting that Jeff might want to work collaboratively with staff on. The letters from Director Riley and Nucky, the letter I mean, the additional information on the alternatives, and then the agenda bill. So we can put that together, maybe like 50 to 60 copies stapled, and then people can share if they need to. I would love to, I love hard copy handouts. So.
We're including Shane's memo. It's gonna be that.
Let me work.
Attached to the letter.
It's attached to the letter. Yeah, that's the one that has the budgets on the 4 alternatives, so. Okay, council, should we go ahead and move on now that we have yeah, okay,
Please.
great. So,
Director Nucky is good with us moving on?
Director Nucky, please go take care of yourself. I don't know that you need to be here for any more of this, sir. So we sure do appreciate you chiming in. Oh, you guys need to stay though. I'm just kidding. Goodbye. Thank you. We'll see you soon enough next week. Okay.
So joint planning.
The next step is actually, it's not the two of you next. Next step, we're talking about our goals and priorities. Kylie and sure, we're talking about goals and priorities next.
Oh, you are.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so Director Riley, I need to know, or one of y'all, can you help me? My voice is feeling very shrill and I apologize for that. Yeah. So how do I share this document from my screen? Because the one that's in the packet is not properly formatted.
And what is the difference in the two I have?
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that, but for now, I'm just gonna let you look at the paper. The one in the packet is not properly formatted. It has some weird bubbles and dots, but this is our edited version. The difference between these two documents, Anna and I got together Sunday, we wordsmithed and we just kind of consolidated some of the ideas into this bulleted list. This is Anna's version. She likes the idea. I'm sorry too, Siri. She likes the idea of having.
You have writing on the back of yours and we don't.
I don't have writing on the back of mine.
I thought you were reading.
No, I'm reading backwards. I can write backwards too. I read books to elementary school students upside down sometimes. So this is, she likes the idea of having A1, A2, A3 that we can refer back to under economic development. So that's a proposed format.
Specifically to connect them to action items, not simply to, general referring back, but like to go, this action item, does it connect to a goal and priority? Well, yes, it connects to PESA. That's it. Where's the first set of notes?
The first goals and priorities?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I should have printed those out, but,
Here. No, I don't mean that. I mean the one that we had right after.
it's in our previous packet.
It's in our previous packet.
Yeah. So this is what we're proposing. This is more along the lines of SMART goals. Yeah, the wording is what we're proposing. Anna is proposing this organizational system for the A1, A2 under each subheading.
For identification purposes, right?
That's it,
Referral.
yeah.
referral.
So the
purposes.
first thing to discuss is, how you feel about the word, the consolidation of the terminologies that we did, the consolidation.
I see
the
some
editing.
more that we could do around funding. I saw like under public safety and support, increased public safety funding, and then under staffing, there's support sustainable funding for parks and public works. And I'm wondering if we could simply say support sustainable funding model for public safety, parks, and public works. Because I think that's what you're looking for, is a sustainable funding model, not
Anna,
just
didn't I
more
call it?
funding.
That's the one I was
Sure
like,
you're
they're
right,
gonna,
Jonathan.
that's the one that I said that there was gonna be questions about.
I'm sure you're right.
So, this came directly from our slides.
Yeah,
And so what I hear you saying is
it seems disorganized to me. It seems like
Mhm.
we're saying it under public safety, increase public safety funding. But then when we get into parks, it's there's not even increased funding under park and environmental. It's under staffing, support sustainable funding. So I just think with funding, we need some language that I think we always are looking for sustainable funding, and that's the red light cameras and, you know, all of that. Also, do I want to increase funding or do I want to increase cops? You know, yeah.
I think that the parks should go up under parks, and I think we just need to
Yeah.
find a way to put DEI somewhere else, and maybe we just have to broaden, you know, something. I don't know, maybe broaden public engagement or something to
Yeah.
to do that.
Well,
Because
is DEI public engagement, but also DEI is internal human resources. So it is staffing.
I understand,
Yeah.
but it could be the only thing under staffing.
To go with your point, A5 is also fun.
But DEI, the DEI position's internal, but the committee, the REAC committee is outward facing and public engagement. So, and that's the reason that we're getting a DEI is because we try to do REAC on our own.
Okay. So, support sustainable funding for parks and environmental, under parks and environmental stewardship. Can you please repeat the wording that you said, Denise, or?
It's support sustainable funding or support a sustainable funding model.
Yeah, put a model in there.
Support sustainable funding for public safety, comma, parks, comma, and public works ops. Okay.
I guess for it to be sustainable, it has to be a model anyway.
You can have a model that just says sort of.
No.
Yeah.
So-
Extra one.
Other than
It just, that's so
Yeah, that was
vague.
great work.
Yeah.
It's so vague. First of all, we're not gonna come up with a public works sustainable funding. We're so behind. It is
So
such
we
a,
want to acknowledge it.
well, but I do think that we could create something sustainable for parks.
Okay.
We've had real conversations about that.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
public works is a bottomless hole, no offense to anybody here.
Yeah.
You know, it
Feel
just,
that?
no, because if we even had enough money just to do maintenance, because we slide backwards every year, but if we had enough money to do maintenance, then it's gonna be, well, my street doesn't have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
The stripes need to be repainted, you know, whatever, you know, like, I mean, we're always doing it. We're always looking for ways to increase public works funding. So I don't know. We can't put every single thing we do on here. So it's the things we're focusing on, hoping to get done this year.
think you're right,
True,
the public,
2 years, but even then,
you're right, public safety, we have specific levy mechanisms and other things. We explore again, in your parks, we've had specific, the parks, I can't remember off the top of my head, but you're right, where public works is more.
Yeah.
So let's go, so what I have is, I have it crossed off under staffing. I have one item left under staffing, which I feel is super appropriate for staffing. And I would propose to leave it one item under staffing, fine, whatever. But I moved support sustainable funding for parks operations up to parks and environmental stewardship, and then elimination of the public works operations.
I would
Sustainable
just,
funding.
instead of calling it staffing, maybe just calling it administration or administrative.
administrative.
And then we're
Administration.
supporting the administrations.
Because, we're not supposed to get involved in staffing,
Right.
and yet job descriptions and that are under our purview, so.
I'm getting real
Yeah.
nitpicky, but it sounds to me like, why do we need more administrators? Don't we need more people actively maintaining our parks?
Well, but the
Well,
DI position
we're
is
not
gonna be
getting rid of
looking at
parks.
administration.
I'm sorry, did I just misconstrue?
Oh, well, at least where I'm at is, I would just cut that, move that up to parks.
Oh, yeah.
And then just change that to something besides staffing, again, because it also makes
Oh,
it sound like our goal is to have increased staff.
Sorry, I get it.
So, which it's not, it's about having.
Okay, so
Yes.
move your staffing
Yes,
for
yes.
the DEI up to public engagement, and call that, instead of public engagement, call it community and employee engagement.
Or just engagement.
Communication.
So I'm looking right off
Yeah,
your DEI, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry, that's what you want. Provide purposeful community and employee engagement. That covers all these other criteria on here. So change
I love
public
it.
to community and
employee.
employee engagement.
Or just community is good enough, because the
Well, so
employees are our community.
it says.
Can we pause? I want to hear, Eric, can you repeat what you want the title of this section to be instead of public engagement?
Community and employee engagement. And that's all inclusive, including the public engagement sections you have there, along with employee engagement, which is the primary purpose, including community of the DEI position. So it
Okay.
covers everything.
I'm good with that.
Community and employee engagement, move it from staffing, eliminate staffing. We're going to eliminate the public works operations and move support sustainable funding to parks operations up to parks and environmental stewardship.
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have it live for you. I'm
And
going to
then we
enter
take
my
public
document.
Works out of that funding.
I took public works language out
Okay.
because we can't really develop sustainable
Yeah.
funding because, yes,
Not till they give us a break.
yeah. But, okay, yes, Jane.
What if we choose to raise the motor vehicle, transportation benefit?
We can
That's-
still do it without it being written here.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's an action step.
it's true. That's something to remind ourselves,
This
isn't it?
and.
Yes, yes.
You be sure to put it in your voters pamphlet when you're.
yeah. When I run again?
Are you looking at this? First of all, we're just working off of this top one right here, which is the
Oh,
bullets.
good.
And then I'll move to the next one, okay? So the one that we have here,
The same, oh, it does, okay, so prioritize residential street maintenance funding.
That should be the
So I
last.
think would you have that captured, which is, start going to the, possible funding mechanisms, so.
okay. So I actually moved that item, prioritize prioritize residential street maintenance funding. I moved it directly underneath this, just to make it look nicer, because it was just hanging out there at the bottom. So Anna, just for your records, as we move forward, but that just made it look,
Okay, so you're going from the previous, like the version that you brought on Sunday. Okay.
no, this is not the version that I brought on Sunday. This is the version that you and I collaboratively created together.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then, okay,
Well, okay.
this is the one that you and I worked on together on Sunday. Yeah. The only thing I did is moved prioritize residential street maintenance funding up, and then I fixed the bullets and the spacing.
Got it.
Okay. So, okay, folks.
One suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Right where we are, to establish ranking system, the first one. And then under those are the prioritizations. So prioritize residential street maintenance funding and then prioritize multimodal connectivity. It sounds like it's part of the same thing, prioritization, ranking. It's all the same thing.
Not
No.
really, because we're establishing a ranking system is one thing, right?
We didn't used to have.
We've never had a ranking system.
Right. But within there, we're not going to prioritize residential street maintenance.
We're prioritizing the funding.
The funding.
Technically, I think the prioritization system is for items on the tip. which don't
Okay.
include residential.
Okay. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Definitely includes
Okay.
multimodal things.
Yeah, they have to be on the.
Okay. Okay. I gotcha.
So are we okay with the two suggested changes? Well, actually, I mean, I don't, just moving, support sustainable funding for parks operations underneath parks and environmental stewardship.
And we'd already moved.
Okay, we're good for that. Community and employment engagement as the new title instead of public engagement, and eliminate the staffing section altogether. So those are okay to do, right?
Mhm.
And then do we have any other changes on the language itself on this
That-
bulleted item?
That public safety and support, I, instead of increase public safety funding,
Right.
can't we, do you use the same language, support sustainable funding model, public safety?
I like that.
That sounds good.
I mean, that's basically what we're trying to do everywhere is
Right.
look for sustainability.
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, I guess, I mean, it's gonna either have to be like a
A levy bond,
a vote or,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but yeah. It seems a little different because like the parks is kind of its own little model.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Sustainable funding is,
what does
the
that mean?
options that are available are voter driven, and we can't guarantee the sustainability of it because it's voter driven. So I would challenge the use of that language.
Well, we can agree to support that.
We can agree by resolutions, for instance, which is something we can get ahead of and,
Mm-hmm.
It's also something that we do as a matter of course for maintenance and operation, like pavement preservation, and sidewalks, and I'm missing one, the trip hazard, the sidewalk trip hazard, those have all been flat for years. Right, and when you look at the projected, it's like, it's 175K for one of those.
Are you speaking directly on the public safety funding item?
No, I'm speaking on, sustainable
Okay.
funding for residential street.
I want to hone in on how we want to create the language for that specific item.
I want to respect the chief's ongoing pleas in public safety meetings.
I'm happy
They
with what's
are,
presented here.
yeah.
Kind of okay with increase too.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, so the next item that we need to decide is how do we want it formatted to look on the website? So these are the two formatting options. So we already know how we want the language to be presented. I have those additions here and modifications, but take a look at, and Anna likes this format with the A1s, A2s, and then there's the bulleted item, which I actually prefer myself, but.
I have no strong preference, but I would go against Anna any chance I get.
A tribute indeed.
No, in
We
fairness,
needed that.
I think we should do half. Anna
It
gets
needs
to
to be
pick three, and I'll pick three.
I just, go back to one thing.
Oh, sure, yeah, you got it, Jane. We can make it kind of quick.
I want to be careful about saying prioritize residential street maintenance funding.
Okay, can you pause for a moment? Let me switch copies, because right now we're just on this one here. Oh, you've been taking notes on this one? Okay, I apologize, but anyway.
Prioritize residential street maintenance funding.
How about?
Okay, so that is better than, no, it isn't. Because when we put that as a council goal and we say it's okay to spend $25 million on the Warren Avenue Bridge. And people could say, hey, you said you were gonna prioritize residential first.
Yeah, we said we were gonna
I'd
prioritize
strike it.
multimodal.
The other thing too is,
Prioritize
like,
multimodal connectivity. Prioritize residential street maintenance funding.
Well, increase it.
That's
I like
going,
increase.
increase is better than
Increase it.
Or
prioritize.
seek sustainable funding for, yeah.
I like
You can't
increase.
prioritize two in the same.
Yeah,
I just,
Thank you. That was bothering me too.
but again, what's the value and what are we gonna do?
right.
Well, again.
We can pass all kinds of ordinances for
Very good bet to
raising
Speak on funding.
raising
Well, I'm not
funds.
gonna recommend it, but there are things we can do.
Yeah,
We could
We can do as a council.
Absolutely. And that's why I show up, but it doesn't need to be written, like, why is it on this valuable piece of real estate? Like, why are we saying to the community that, especially when we know that housing and homelessness and
Yeah.
affordability is a higher priority,
Mhm.
but also in light of also the money that we're fighting for the bridge.
Because you're holding yourself accountable. That's why.
They
For the
want
next
it.
2
Because
years,
they
you better,
want it.
you better address this.
I guess what I'm saying is I feel like we do this
I got you, Jeff.
all the time, and we've been doing it all the time. We're always looking for this.
I want to stop and let me defer to Jeff here.
Explore options to increase residential street maintenance funding.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's a goal that we could offload to finance committee to look at the options that are available to us.
I don't like explore. The people, every time I'm knocking on doors, this is like, this and homelessness are like the big concerns. Speeding, potholes, homelessness, not in that particular order.
So it's a 2-year goal. First step would be explore. We do that internally and then we increase somehow. If you get the majority of the council.
Identify
Just
Identify
increase.
best options to increase residential. street
I
maintenance.
like increase, but if you guys don't care for it, then it's gonna be changed.
I like increase.
I like increase.
Okay. Increase residential street maintenance funding.
Yeah.
Jane, is that jiving with what you're feeling?
yes,
I
Okay.
like that.
I like
Doesn't
increase.
say by how much.
Okay, so we've got that last one. Increase residential street maintenance funding. Got it. Okay. Are we okay to move on to decide what format we'd like? And let's try to figure this out by 7:30. I mean, I feel like we can probably have a really deep discussion about bullets versus letters and numbers, but come on.
Talked about fonts.
Come on. We're not even gonna talk about fun.
Any pastels on.
And there's no colors. I couldn't remember which color blindness you were, Jeff.
I
Was it
like
red,
the
green?
look of this one, but I like the, if this is gonna be a referral document, then it's more easily referred to with the numbers and letters.
I had a thought that I
That's why you
wanted,
suggested.
I had a thought that I wanted to throw out there. Could we publish this version on the website? And then as we move forward, as we discuss action items, we can internally use a document that looks like this and then have this published with our action steps when we do it.
What about transparency?
You want
Wanna be on the same page.
make this a transparency? Like, we don't even use those
I'll
machines
get the overhead.
anymore. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. We're making it. So
I
what do
think
you,
we can.
what do you think about using this as the document that we publish online, but using this when we go to our action steps to refer to?
I think we should pick one.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would
Okay.
we? Yeah.
I am
agnostic.
Switzerland on this.
I know nobody really has.
So that's the only thing I would maybe add on, I like the outline format, but should we start up above so we can just go under 1A4, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I was looking for the numbers too.
Oh, I see what you're
give
saying.
a one
Yeah.
level hierarchy and then I'd be good, but I don't really have a strong preference anyways.
Okay.
I can use this document in any format, give it.
I prefer on the new. Yeah.
All right. Okay. The thing is, the reason I like this one, and I think that the font and the clarity of the other is much better, and it should be, made bigger. But We produced an extraordinary number of action items, not just at the joint session, but in the years before. So if we're gonna tackle them, it'd be handy to have something to refer to. Hold on.
And then, do we feel that these are listed with some sort of priority?
Alphabet.
Alphabetical? I like that, because it may be, yeah, good. Okay.
They're not actually alphabetical, by the way, but we could make them alphabetical.
Well, the top categories are.
Yeah, it pretty
they
much
are.
is, except for the.
No, you can't have parks and public with an I in between it.
Thank you.
Well, that's honest deal. She changed it to increase and she didn't remember that it was
Oh, actually,
alphabetical.
no, now it's gonna be community employee engagement, so it's going.
So I'll just take a stab at redoing it with your suggestions, and it sounds like Eric, what, do you care? Do you care?
You want me to say the next word?
I think I know them.
So,
That was your best Eric face ever.
so I tell you what, I'm gonna take a stab at formatting it using this option. I'm making it alphabetical with our topics. I'm gonna change the topic heading of public engagement to community and employment engagement, which is going to
Moved it
go.
Up to the
It's
top.
gonna be the top. Top.
That's great.
And then I will just, and then can I, just for clarity, do you want me to make it 1A, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or do you want to keep it like on this format here? Because I was a little confused about that discussion.
I was gonna say if you have A, B, next one's C.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
then they're actually have a unique alphanumeric designation.
I like that too. Okay.
Yeah. I don't
Yep.
care.
Eric, any final words on this?
Yes, as a person who, I'm 58 years old, all the childhood, one school, whatever, my last name is Younger, starts with Y. I'd like us to start with the alphabet starting.
Reverse alphabet.
It's a resolution.
Do we have a general consensus on
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Anything Eric
Wait a minute, you want me to reverse alphabetize it for real?
No.
Whatever Lola wants, Lola.
I mean, okay, we can move on, right?
Is this on the consent agenda?
Yeah.
Please.
Consent agenda, yes, and if anybody, I'll get this out too this weekend, if anybody sees any glaring, I'll get it, I'm sorry, on Monday. If I can't get it out by Friday. And if you see any glaring issues, reply to city.council. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a moment, just, Attorney Fennel is next on our agenda, but I'm gonna go ahead to general council business number 2. What I'd like to do is put the action steps for 2024, 2025 on a future study session for us to talk about. And then we can divvy it out how we see. So that's all I was gonna say for that general council business. And moving along to item C1 with our human resources human resources manager and our attorney and our city attorney, Kylie Fennel.
Easy for you to say.
So you have a status update for the DEI program.
They do. So we talked about this at the last study session and we said we were going to have it on again and kind of just provide an update on where we are. If you look at the materials that were provided in the packet, there are some updates to the information Charlotte was able to gather. That included some of your requests, like the number of employees for those cities. There were some holes in it that have been filled. And so that's updated. The big, I guess, addition to the materials that were submitted was the draft RFP. This was coming together just with it's kind of a combined effort with Melinda Monroe. And she runs the RFP process. And then with looks by risk management, HR, and then me, we've got some typos certainly to correct here, but overall, the plan for this would be that it goes out for RFP. This is for the recruiting firm. And we really tried to stay with the report that was prepared by our consultants because they did the work to get the community input on this. And so we referenced that report in the RFP to go to that recruiting practices that they recommended for this. So, there's a few dates that we want to point out that were just typos that we're going to change, just so you understand the timeline. Charlotte, you want to?
Yeah, so under, I could do under notice, notice inviting proposals. Under opening of proposals, it says April 30th, but we're also closing it April 30th, so it should really be April 3rd.
That seems like a good change.
Quick and we're done. And then on page 6, it references putting the job description, that it'll be provided to them. We're going to take that out because we're not going to have a final job description by then, I don't think.
How's somebody gonna apply if they don't?
Yeah, it's not the job description. This is just for the RFP.
Oh,
So what we have in
For the
there is
recruit.
for the
Because
recruit.
they're developing the job.
They're going to
So
look
no,
at it.
we want them to look at it and then we want to get it finalized with council before we go out. But we wanted their, I guess, eyes on it too before we finalize it. So we don't want that to be part of it. Okay. I can, can you turn out when you're talking to me again? I wasn't following you.
So here it says April 30th. So it closes on the 30th and we have it open.
I think they mean opening the proposal, not the opening of the bids. Is that what she's saying?
So email proposals will be received as shown on the wall clock in the city clerk's office on April 30th, 2024.
We'll figure out the dates.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk to Melinda about that. Make sure those all make sense. The idea is basically, if you look at page 4, we're going to try to get the RFP issued next week. And then there'll be a pre-proposal conference.
Well, page 4 of the classification specification.
No. The RFP right here.
Okay, draft. Which
I think it's,
Page 97 of 125.
I don't have that.
yeah, you do.
See, no, I don't.
Here, you can look at mine.
There we go.
You got it?
Yes, because I was on the previous diversity, equity, and inclusion program. Okay, so
Yeah, so the time frame I think is what is to just, we want time for the people to submit their proposals, time for us to award the contract, and then time for them to get started. And so that's the idea here.
And aren't they going to give us expertise around level and title and salary?
I think maybe title. I think it's really going to be up to the council to talk about the level. That's still going into, I think we should talk about like how we want to get to that decision and what other information that you need. We've tried to pull sort of what other cities are doing, and kind of what that process is going to look like. The recommendation from consultant was that it be at director level. But ultimately that's going to be a council decision. I don't know that they would necessarily have a lot of weigh in on that piece. But we can talk about it if you want to hear.
Where are we in that process? When are you going to need to make that decision?
I think we're going to need to make it before they start service, right? I don't think that they need to know that piece before they make their bid. I don't think that the recruitment's going to be that different, what we want from it as far as engaging, the public, engaging staff, and being, that more enhanced recruitment process. But certainly we need to know what we're hiring for before we start hiring. So,
so the current consultant recommended director.
right. It's only approved by council at this point at manager level.
Right. I understand that. So if we say we want to keep it at manager level, is our current consultant going to think that we're not serious about wanting this position?
I don't know what they're going to think. There can be one of the things that you have to do is balance, needs of the community. And there were some other recommendations. I know that they also recommended that HRB be restructured to have a director level head and made it a separate department. If the council is going that direction, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it's a point of input, and you certainly don't have to follow what the consultant said. And we don't really have their term of engagement with the city at this point, I think, has concluded. They are all available for us if we want to continue to consult on issues that we can, but we hired them for, they completed the work.
Yeah, we would be commissioning additional work for them. They just did their job. They gave the report. We don't,
I don't think
I think maybe what you're asking is, I mean, like, let's think about the community, right? Because there was
Right.
community engagement involved.
Mhm.
So I hear what you're saying for that.
Yeah, so I guess yes, I think it was more their recommendation was based on what they heard from the community, and so that would be option for it. I don't know.
Wasn't there consensus at the last study session that we wanted to keep it at manager? I mean, if anybody's changed.
I don't think there was.
There wasn't any
There
consensus.
wasn't.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we have time to discuss that.
We don't have to figure that out tonight. The main thing for tonight was just to make sure that there wasn't any outcry about this, anything that you saw in the RFP. It doesn't require council approval. This was just more keeping you in the loop of where we are in the process. So there's no decision making here. This is just an update.
You don't need anything.
I don't, but I was interested in your input. Like I said, it's a group effort. This is a new position. The RFP is kind of working between our departments. We want to let you know where we are. And essentially it's just, this is the timeline that we came up with as to what's reasonable. It's expeditious, but not ridiculous, and that, someone needs time to work. And that, we really are just trying to follow the recruitment process. We aren't trying to do something different than what was recommended.
Okay. Thank you for the update, counselors. Any other questions before we just kind of
Thank you.
move on to the next? Because we'll have another update. This is a standing agenda item.
Yeah.
So I think fair to say that, potentially could we look at hiring somebody in the fall?
I know
I know it's lots
sort of
of-
depends on their, I think that's probably Charlotte. I'll defer to Charlotte. She has a 30
Probably
years
it's going to
experience.
depend on the availability of everybody. But this timeline, that's a big vacation time. So it might go mid-fall.
Could be winter. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Set expectations. So I talk to anyone. Okay.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, so once this goes forward, we will have a mid-year budget adjustment to add budget for the recruiter, depending on what the price, because it's not budgeted. So
Right.
just a reminder, we see it. And
Right. That was for the last year, or last study session. We got the thumbs up to do this.
I see Judge Flood has her hand raised. I apologize. Thank you, Judge Flood. You go right ahead.
Madam President, I wasn't sure if this would be the time to ask the question, if I was able.
You want to ask questions of the staff about the DEI? Sure. Go right ahead. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So I'm just following up. I've had a chance to review the report, but I believe that there was discussions at the, that took place in regards to any actions that would take place from the recommendations. Has there been a decision on what actions the city council and the city is going to take with the recommendations that were put forth?
No, I believe that what they're here presenting on is an RFP to do with the hiring, the talent search, to do an RFP for an agency to do the search for applicants for the DEI position.
But I guess
Outside
given-
consultant.
Okay, got it. So has there been a decision on what the RFP, what are they going to be recruiting for?
Oh, I can answer.
Okay, yes,
Judge Floyd, can you hear me? This is Kylie.
Attorney Fennell.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So there was I guess at this point it was 2 study sessions ago, Clarity Partnerships and the other consultant had Melanie Ryan, and it's I can't remember, it's just MRFCC, did a presentation of council about the report. And then the study session after that is, this was 2 weeks ago. Oh, there you are. The council decided to undertake the recommendations in that report. And what the first one that was in the council's sort of purview was authorizing the city to pursue a recruitment firm to do the recruiting for the position, which was one of the recommendations. So the council had not previously allocated any funding for an outside recruitment firm to do that work. And so the council at the last study session gave the green light for that to happen. The next step in following that recommendation in the report is to do to get that outside recruiter. The report did not specifically recommend an RFP, but consistent with the other policies that the city uses to retain those kind of services, we decided to do an RFP in this case. And the RFP has been prepared, and that's what the council is looking at tonight. It isn't required that the council approve the actual RFP because the contract amount is going to be significantly below what is required for council approval. But we're just sharing it with them so that they see that the RFP that's going out is consistent with the report recommendations. As far as the practices, the recruitment for this position is going to be different than, say, like a recruitment for, one of the city engineers or something like that. It's going to involve public input and things like that. Then that was part of what was recommended in the DEI report that was prepared by MFRCC. So that's what we're here on tonight.
Thank you.
Any other follow-up questions on this, or shall we move on to other general council business?
I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to.
Thank you so much for the update and the
Thank you.
work you're
Appreciate it.
doing. Okay, next up, and I already talked about the action steps. I'll bring it forward at another study session for us to talk about. Public Works.
Speak to action.
I'd like to move on to Public Works Committee Chair Jane Robolowski, and then if there's anything under other general council business, can you please bring it up then?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Invite Public Works Committee Chair Jane Robolowski is next to provide a summary of the highlights from the last meeting held on March 19th.
Give me one.
10 seconds.
I can do audit in 15.
Oh my gosh, you guys, okay.
go.
Name that tune. Remember this show?
Yeah.
Jane's next. And then
I
you're-
am ready.
And then Anna. And then
Okay,
You.
so we met on Tuesday, March 19th, and we started discussing the Warren Avenue Bridge alternatives. And we immediately started asking about different grant opportunities. So we kind of switched it around, and Gunnar gave us a really great presentation on grants and loans that are available for us to apply to. And we asked him to put that up on the city's website so that the public can easily look at this list. So we discussed the shortfalls and the limited response from WashDOT to any of our council's concerns. We discussed with them that we thought the 8x8 would most likely be a non-starter, but Tom did say that he just wanted to be transparent and provide all the information to the public. We specifically asked them if it was okay if we waited for a final decision till April 17th, and they agreed that April 17th would not be a problem. Jeff explained to him that he had contacted our state reps to assist with clarification over us buying and maintaining a U-bit. And then we had a discussion on grants for connectors. We don't want to be competing against ourselves. So Public Works staff recommended that we wait until next spring when we have a more complete understanding of how the bridge is gonna work and what the budget looks like. Like, let's hope that we don't need $1 million worth of catwalks, or we don't need this or that, so that at that time, we possibly could have some money left over in the budget to do some of our connectors. And that was pretty much it for that. Then Matt gave his, Matt Donlicott gave a presentation on the Commerce grant that we just approved tonight for the Admiral Theater improvements. Then Dave Powell gave a really good presentation on the slip lining of some of our existing sanitary sewer and storm lines. And not only are they doing that work, but they're also videotaping and cleaning pipes that they hope to do next year under the contract. Nick gave us a update on 6th Avenue active transportation projects. I was kind of surprised that there's almost $1 million set aside for signal modifications. But hopefully, once he gets into the design more, they may not need to be modified. No date set yet for any public input. Nick considers the school district and Kitsap Transit as stakeholders, so they are meeting up with them. We also had some follow-up emails from staff to tell us that Quincy Square, probably a month later than we anticipated, but they still expect that'll be under construction now later summer, it looks like, instead of early summer. Yes.
Clarify, because obviously that's our front door.
Yes.
So I had been hearing mid-June, maybe late May, mid-June. Now I've been hearing mid-June to July for a start. Now it's probably a July to possibly, okay.
Yeah.
Are they gonna send anything out to stakeholders?
I would hope so.
Like, I've got events that I might have done in the summer that I'm not gonna do because I don't think I'm gonna have a street. But if I have a street, let's go out with a bang.
We asked Katie to give a full presentation at next month's, but hopefully
I just want, she should have a list of the businesses on that street. They need to,
Yeah.
to be quite honest, when we had the last event at the Roxy, that's all I was looking for, was to have the business owners really in the loop. I mean, a day delay can help us. One better day of business or visitors or whatever. So that's all. So I can reach out to Katie myself. So.
Okay. And one really great thing is they went over all the different grants and took input from Denise, Jeff, and I on which grants they should move forward with applying for, which I don't think council's ever had that opportunity before at grant application. So that was really good for the public. And I appreciated it. Are there any other major items that you think I missed?
So can I add, I think fantastic, specifically for 6th Street, no right-of-way acquisition is being considered. So it's just the paint and traffic signals. I wrote that down.
I don't know if it's just paint. That's more of
Or sorry, just to say no expanding of the roadway using the existing roadway plus traffic signals. That
No road widening?
no road widening. There's no right-of-way acquisition.
That doesn't mean they can't. Oftentimes we have right of way behind the sidewalk. So I
think they've said there's no.
Nobody said anything about not moving any curbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So no extra right-of-way acquisition.
No,
No.
no right-hand turn lane.
No.
No, they haven't said that yet.
Rewire this.
And then I was gonna add, the Quincy, I think Kay specifically said bids in mid-April, or Tom reported that, but Mayor is gonna give an update on Quincy next week, right, Mayor? So,
Not on that,
no, okay.
but it's a cool development.
Okay,
That is moving forward with predictability.
okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay.
So bids in mid-April, and then from there. And oh gosh, you had something, oh, for the grants, I think maybe specifically worth mentioning that, that the recommendation was, working with staff for KRCC to just stick with the 11th Street grant
Yes.
and take out 6th Street, because there's 2 other grants in 6th Street that could deliver the funding far sooner.
Yes.
So the KRCC, we wouldn't see
Yeah.
funding until 2027, so the 2027, 2028 biennium. And there's 2 that could get funding, construction funding in 2026. And that was, I'll find the names, but they were both the right dollar amounts and everything, so.
Where are they with the design on the road diet for 6th Street?
We don't know.
Okay. We set aside that money in November.
No, they are working on it.
They're working on it, but I don't know what stage they're at. I mean, if they're not ready to show it to anybody in the public yet.
Fair enough.
No, but Nikitai is working on public outreach, and that's what he walked us through a bit with the initial potential cost estimates and what they're exploring to get that design. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
Yeah. Super. I mean,
And they're
kudos
still
to staff.
so appreciative of us starting earlier. I think that's
Yeah,
gonna
works.
carry, that goodwill is gonna carry.
Yeah,
for-
very productive and very excellent.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was very comprehensive. I appreciate that. Audit Committee, Anna Mockler, from highlights from your meeting on March 25th.
Okay. The work on the landlord license compliance is ongoing. The auditor Sims was diverted with an ethics complaint that she was required by charter to investigate. She investigated, she found there was no basis for same, and now she's back on the landlord license compliance. That's
Radical. Thank you very much. Michael, good now, finance.
Finance had one item, and it was the one we discussed tonight about LED conversions from DSC. That is all we talked about. Thank you.
Beautiful. And that meeting was on March 26th.
Nice.
And anybody assigned to regional and other committee boards, please provide a summary of the highlights from your meetings.
That's like you mean.
You know?
You're in.
KRCC Transpol, fairly quick meeting, but they were discussing that upcoming call for proposals and the criteria, and they're tweaking the language a bit to really call out climate change as a kind of specific goal in there. So they wanted to address that. Otherwise, it was just making sure everyone's on board. The process is pretty similar. So, I mean, with that one, my takeaway is if the only grant we submit is 11th and it's not horrible, we're very likely to get it unless something goes behind the scenes. So.
Can I ask a brief question? Oh, when you have a second, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
as I said, we can submit up to 4 proposals. But.
But you're
the
fighting
typical
against
amount we've got
yourself.
is on the 1 to 2 million level. So, yeah.
And this is design of 11.
So there
It
is-
isn't construction.
Right.
I realize we're saying they did, right. They did walk through the history of the past kind of 15 years of the different jurisdictions. So they separated out the county with and without Silverdale, as well as the 4 incorporated cities, and basically their, population and the amount of grant funding they've gotten over 15 years and break it down per capita. And I'd say Bremerton, we got like a couple percent higher than per capita for funding, so we're okay. Although really stuck out as the largest amount of money per capita going to them. The county without Silverdale was the lowest, so.
Well, I like
it was
that.
interesting. It was
That
just to look
sounds really
historically, 'cause
interesting.
It's from what I understand, it's a very collaborative process to try and get funding for, but
Oh.
maybe not, maybe sometimes, but of course, with that said,
Okay.
clearly one city's done the best.
Right,
Capita,
if there's an
capita.
outlier. All right, any other regional and other committee boards I'm sorry, let me say that correctly. Anybody else want to report on a regional or other committee or board? Denise.
I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow, from 3:30 to 5, the special meeting of the Lodging Tax Committee is going to be held. We'll be basing it here. This is a kickoff to the analysis that Lori Main of Westbrook and Maine is going to be conducting. So there are stakeholders that have been invited, key leaders in the community, so forth and so on. Everybody's invited to attend, but only stakeholders that have been identified will be participating in the meeting, 3:30 to 5. I really encourage council to attend. I know that Kylie said that that was fine. You can attend, you may not participate. But I think that it would be good for you to get a more thorough understanding of what the process is going to be, right from Lori Main. And also, I'm sure she'd welcome follow-up questions or comments.
Is it
Right?
gonna be recorded?
It's going to be
Right,
recorded.
so it's also, if you wanted to see.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to do it that way.
Okay.
I have plans.
Okay.
Question, sorry. Is there any chance that LTAC could complete its work in time for us, for council review to be meaningful? Because if, and I'm
For this
feeling-
year,
Yeah,
it's going to depend on interview schedules and that type of thing. Lori was very impressed with the audit, with the 2019 audit and all the information that it had. Some of that obviously is going to have to be updated because that was pre-pandemic. But there's a lot of work, as we said, that's already been done. It's just analyzing all of that data and updating it and kind of making some recommendations.
well, for the rest of it, I just wanted to thank you for taking on this really tough task.
Shouldn't be so tough, but yeah, it has been.
Yeah.
If you would.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, gonna open it up for general council business. Anna, go right ahead.
I'd like to discuss action items. I think that first one I'd like to start with is you all know I used to work at Parks, and I've been talking to people I knew from back then, and they're very concerned that the $16.87 Parks is paying for seasonal laborers is not going to, they, in their opinion, it failed to attract people last year at least. And now with McDonald's paying $20 an hour, I'd like to, with your permission, I'd like to reach out to Director Elevato and find out if he would be okay with us, you know, if he feels this is valid first. And second, to find out if the rest of you would be willing to consider raising seasonal laborers pay to $20 an hour for 2025.
That's gotta go through HR, doesn't it?
Is there a union? I mean, this is an HR union kind of a deal.
It's not a union job.
Okay, so this is just seasonal exempt workers?
If I,
This is the administration job.
Mhm.
yeah, but would we be
Passing that
able to?
information over to the
Yeah, but would be,
Just did.
okay.
He's right there.
Okay.
$20 an hour, McDonald's workers. Okay, anyway.
And we can relate that to goal number, PES.
No, we're not.
No, I'm actually, Anna, I'd like to just pause on that. I'm gonna stop because respectfully, I would like to request that we, and if you want to keep going, I'm gonna give you 4 more minutes because that's just the right way to do it. But may I go ahead and finish my point, please? And it's something you ask of me often. Let me finish speaking, please. I respectfully ask to put the action steps onto another agenda. And that would be a better time, I feel, for us to have a very comprehensive conversation about said action items. And we'll be more focused on it. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and start. And if you'd like to continue, that's up to you.
Great. So the subcommittee that was set up at a previous study session to establish something similar to the Good Neighbor Handbook has completed its work and it is ready for your review. The second one is another action item that's been discussed to get a GIS map of the 295 parcels identified by the auditor has also been completed.
Yeah, kudos to Anna, wrote up basically the FAQs for the Good Neighbor Handbook. went through some of them, but it was all mostly, yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay.
Good place to start. And
All right.
Start at the very beginning.
Any other general council business? Jane?
We've been requested a public comment and I've gotten lots of emails to consider a resolution to support an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. I'm just taking temperatures. I told them I would bring it up to everybody at council and
I've been in favor of it since October, but the consensus of council is it didn't happen on council turf. Oh, if that's changed, let me know.
we could speak out on a whole host of issues and we don't because it's not our lane. It's not our role.
I don't disagree,
Yeah.
but we do other things that really aren't our lane either. But I said I would bring it up, so I brought it up. Okay. What?
So
No,
Jane,
oh,
just to clarify, if you wanted to see a resolution brought forward, you would need a co-sponsor, so.
Well, I just wanted to take everybody's temperature and it's, I'm not gonna put everybody through that if they're against.
Well, I'm absolutely personally for a ceasefire, but it's up to you if you want to pursue a resolution with a co-sponsor. So, yeah.
I don't think most of council has the majority of council would vote it down. So it doesn't seem to make sense to put the community through the discussion.
That's probably not a fair statement. Because I personally would support a ceasefire, whether I think it's our position to do it, and that's how we should be spending our residents' time and things like, I don't know. I mean, so I'm pretty neutral on it, but it does, it's one of these tough things to navigate. And we've gotten into that already, and we saw what that was like, and some of this feels like precedence based on other recent actions. And so.
Okay. And then the other thing, I thought you were gonna bring up.
I was, but I was only given 4 minutes. So.
You got 3.5 minutes left.
Okay.
We have heard many, many times from numerous members of the community that they want the pledge brought back. So I requested on city business, the video of the 18th May 2022 meeting. And I've isolated Roosevelt Smith's speech. And the proposal that I'm making to all of you, and especially to you, Jennifer, is that we play this 3-minute audio or video after the mayor's report and before public recognition begins. So I'm pitching it to you as I think it would be.
I wouldn't do it without his consent.
No, I would.
Of course not. Of course not.
Oh my gosh.
I'd like to chat with you after the meeting, about a possible alternative, just you and me, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I like live, but I don't see the point of replaying, but can I chat with you after? Okay.
Sure.
All right, is there any other council business? Yes.
Any short one was, not an official request, but DBA at the last meeting was wondering if it's ever been discussed or possible to look at validating parking at the Washington Garage as a way to increase usage and a win-win for businesses and the amount of people that's parking there.
We could do a test project during the Quincy Square construction.
That was kind of one thought, yeah. Once pedestrian access will be preserved, then.
So we're gonna lose 12 parking spots?
Something like that, yeah.
But how much money does the parking garage generate for us? And where would that money
How
go?
much money do the businesses generate for the city?
I don't know.
A lot of questions.
Finance committee.
Right.
Sales tax.
Finance, parking, and investment.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a trifecta.
Yeah, the idea they brought forward is, yeah, especially with Quincy coming up.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's impossible by our contracts and all that, but
So if I can go back to the budge real quick, and I kind of wish I had this thought way back, but we wouldn't let a citizen stand up, come up to public recognition and sort of encourage the audience to speak and participate in something that they're inviting them to. We just wouldn't do it, right? I mean, I don't know if there's any, and now we're so far down this path of,
I'm personally okay with just letting her say it every time and people can stand up if they want. I mean, that's the whole point of public record. If she wants to, she can come. That's her deal. It's
But
okay.
I don't think
We're not gonna change people's minds. Our job isn't to change people's minds in that way. But we are there to provide a space for people to come to us with their opinions. This is something she's passionate about, and if that's what she wants to do, a public recognition, whatever, I'm okay with it.
I'm not trying to change her mind.
Yeah.
Although I did speak to her and I said, I think if you listen to this, that you might not change, but you might see why council did. And she agreed that she would be willing to listen to it. My concern is the people who are there for all kinds of other things.
Sure.
And who are going away with the impression that we have decided that this 90-second ritual is, totally jamming our gears.
It's okay because there's a lot of people that understand the intent and people can, again, give us more public comment on what they think. That's our job. Like, I'm okay with letting her do her thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so we cut off a robot voice at public recognition. And I don't think having a recording is, can we please, I would love to talk with you about this after the meting.
Yes,
And is that
I'm
okay,
already-
Michael, if I can move? Yeah,
No.
cool. Okay. I just want to,
wait to my car.
he's all right. I hear you, brother. Okay. Is there any other council business from y'all? Okay.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. So tonight I have a little bit of general council business, which is just to say thank you. I know I'm not always very good at stepping back as a counselor, I wasn't. I always, have a bigger voice in here. We're trying to do things differently. But I wanted to give us some more time tonight, and it was a lot to process. And I appreciate your conversation, your input. Please feel free to let me know if there's any feedback that you have. And with that, I'd like to announce that the next council meeting will be on Wednesday, April 3rd, beginning at 5:30 in the first floor meeting chambers with a remote option available by Zoom. The public is welcome to attend in person or remotely, and any special accommodations may be requested by calling the city clerk at 360-473-5323 at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. Meeting is adjourned.